who the favourites were.
KT roster.
Welcome back everybody to the 2019 LCK Wildcard Series.
그리고
So we're going to be having a preview and a review show before the series with Mina Kim and Hitori and Captain Jack. And this is season with the translation for this previous show. So this is finally the moment that the playoff starts off. So first, let's check out the final result of the regular split. Griffin is on the first place, going straight to the finals, followed by SK Telecom, Kingzone, SANDBOX, and DAMWON Gaming. Today we'll be having a match up between SANDBOX and DAMWON Gaming, and followed by Hana Life Esports, gen.g, Africa, and KT Roaster and Junior Green Wings are going down to the relegations.
네, 승강전에 갔네요.
네, 정말 끝까지 결과를 알 수 없었습니다. 자, 계속해서 플레이오프 일정 확인하겠습니다.
Then let's check out the schedules for the playoffs.
오늘 와일드 카드가 펼쳐지죠.
Today it's a wild card match, SANDBOX versus DAMWON Gaming. This is gonna be best of 3, and then we'll be having a playoff round 1, playoff round 2, finals with best of 5 series. The today's winner is gonna head up to the playoff round 1, facing up against Kingzone. And then SKT is waiting for the winner of the playoff round 1. And then the winner of the playoff round 2 will go to finals facing up against Griffin. Then let's check out the stats of both teams.
자, 일단 전력 비교를 해볼까요?
네, 글씨 색깔 자체가 포인트가 들어가는 게 샌드박스 쪽이 굉장히 많게 포인트가 잡혀 있죠. 샌드박스는 초반부터 본인들의 라인전 강점도 활용하고 특히 타이트한 운영을 통해서 서로 오브젝트를 착실히 다 싸우면서 상대와 본인팀의 어떤 힘의 격차를 좀 불리는 데 특화되어 있거든요.
네, 그렇죠. 그리고 반대로 담원은
However, DAMWON, their stats actually doesn't look really good.
12위 순위에 있는데
They have the lowest stat for the first blood taken because Nuguri actually has a lot of aggressive early games, so it's really interesting because Nuguri has the most number of first deaths so far, having 8 first deaths on his own, and followed by Summit and Joker. And this is the match record of both teams. So, well, the most interesting thing here is that there was never a 2-0 series. The game was every time very close, going back and forth. Even since the Challengers Korea. But however, significantly, SANDBOX has been taking down DAMWON Gaming this entire split, regardless of the set scores.
일방적인 경기가 없습니다. 다 2대1, 뭐 1대3, 뭐 이런 식으로 됐던 만큼 오늘 경기도 굉장히 치열할 것으로 예상이 됩니다.
Another very close match due to the very close match history record.
주요 장면들 함께 만나보시죠.
This is the highlight PCR of the previous matches of DAMWON Gaming and SANDBOX.
됐을지 궁금합니다.
네. 이 경기가 사실 엄청 치열했었어요. 드래곤도 엄청 많이
This was
획득했었고
indeed one of the most intense and competitive game in LCK.
가운데 두 팀
It was really hard to guess who's going to win because the game was so close and even.
이거 뭐야? 승격팀이 왜 이래? 이런 양상이었는데 거기서 일단 첫 번째 경기가
reaction of the coaches.
그렇죠. 그래서 계속 보시면 아시겠지만 두 팀의 성장의
너구리 playing Kennen. 5-man stun with his ultimate.
같은 경우는 너구리 캐넨이 마지막에 쓸어남는 모습이 나왔지만 사실 루시안으로 바텀에서 활약한
But not only Naguri, but also story mentioning about the bot laners in the DAMWON gaming performing so well at that series.
정령전하고 계속 불리게끔 됐던.
This is the highlight for Ghost.
최근에는 오히려 그 상체 라인이 주목받는 경우가 많은데 이런 리그 초반 1라운드만 하더라도 고스트 선수의 또 화려한 부활.
Because there wasn't a huge expectation on him before the beginning of the spring split. However, Ghost was performing so well throughout the split, and that is Joker saying nice after that big win in the team fight.
2라운드에 만났을 때도 분위기가 크게 달라지지 않았었던 것 같아요. 좀 양 팀의 운영 그리고 환타 이런 부분에 있어서 특색 있는 조합이 나왔었고 요릭을 잘 사용하는 서밋 상대로 카운터 킥을 준비하는
Summit was doing very well with Yorick,
and
which proves that he is very good with damage carries and also tank champions.
몇번 등장했었습니다.
However, this is DAMWON fighting back to SANDBOX. They are doing so well at teamfights. Their engagement was really clean over there. Especially a lot of players prefer the champions with great teamfight ability such as Vladimir. This is someone coaches in the coaches box. We can say the winner of the reaction of the coaches will be SANDBOX. And this was one of the most scary jacks ever. And it was not a laner, it was a jungler. This was a jack's play from OnFlip. Destroying all the players, landing so many stuns over there. Because it is really hard to scale that much as a jungler. It was extra impressive.
하지만 저 경기 같은 경우도 중간중간 불리한데도 불구하고 담원이 쇼메이커의 야쏘를 필두로 한 방 한 방을 보여줬기 때문에
also mentioning about DAMWON also performing really well up against SANDBOX, especially Showmaker playing Yasuo against them.
서로 간의 장점을 잘 살린 경기로 치고받고 많이 했었다. 다시 좀 그렇게 기억이 나는
Reviewing all the series, we can say there are a lot of fights whenever they face up against each other. So we'll be looking forward to see some of our fights.
역시 저희가 뭐 키플레이를 뽑는다면 이 양 팀의
we're gonna move on to the key players. First, we're gonna go through the top laners.
누가 선발 출전을 할지 벌써부터 기대가 되는데요. 양 팀의 키 플레이어 확인해 보시죠.
It's Summit
역시 탑이 가장
versus Naguri and Flame.
보시면 이제 너구리 선수 가장 최근에 이제 케일이라는 카드를 선보이면서
especially his recent plays on Kill was unstoppable. I think a lot of players are actually struggling figuring out how to play against it.
오늘 좀 의욕 차서 너구리 선수가 선발이 나올 가능성이 높지 않을까.
We really want to find out soon who's gonna start the game today up against Summit. Because Summit is performing so consistently in every role. He's quite aggressive in the laning phase, but also he's really good with damage carry champions such as Jace, but he's also really good at Yorick playing tank champions. So he's also always dominating on the side lanes and macros, so we're expecting to see both of the top laners actually facing up against Summit today. And this is another key player here, the supporters. Support. So interesting thing is the Joker, most of his stats stay actually at the bottom of the rankings, but his vision score is on the first place. Maybe that is the proof that he's sacrificing a lot for his team, but he still contributes a lot in terms of vision controls. Especially he has been playing so well on his Morgana. He actually claimed himself as a Morgana master, and he proved that on stage. And also interesting thing is that his stats actually look pretty decent. His kill participation is on the first place, and he made second most assists so far in LCK Spring Split. And also their substitute super player Barrel did very good in the previous case KT match playing Tompkins, making a lot of genius super saves.
하지만 가장 중요한 순간이 남았죠. 승부 예측.
So who's gonna win today? Any guess?
기본적으로 와일드카드전이기 때문에
Victoria, his guess is
플리그 때 붙었던 3전 2선
it's a wild card
다르지
series.
않은 흐름을 이어간다면
Well,
최근에
and
아무래도
if
안정적인
things
운영으로
stays the
좋은
same
모습을
as the
보여서
regular
샌드박스가
split
좀더
as
우위를 점하지 않을까 싶어요. 그래서 어떻게
best
보면
of three
담원
game,
입장에서는 이런
he
흐름을
still
바꾸려면
believes
결국
that
탑에서
SANDBOX
먹을
in a
준비를
lead
준비해야
in terms of
되지
situation,
않을까.
and to
저는
turn
그렇게
that over,
네,
he's
저는
expecting
이제
Damwon to
반대로
prepare something
담원
really
게임이 2대1
strong.
승리를 생각을 하고 있습니다.
와.
우선
But however, Captain Jack is on the other way around. He's expecting 2-1 victory against Damwon side because he thinks Nuguri's kill was really strong, and also the bot lane synergy is increasing, keep increasing throughout the split. So he's expecting Damwon to pick up 2-0 victories against SANDBOX Gaming.
위로 올라가서 킹존을 만나게 될까요?
So this will be the end of the previous show of the Wildcard series, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
화장실 열어라!
여기서 5대 패배하게 되면 4위로 떨어지기 때문에 느낌이 아예 달라요. 샌드박스 오늘 SKT전 패배를 하면서 4위로 내려왔습니다.
담원은 주목받고 있었습니다. 지금 연패 중이에요. 기장!
야, 캐리했다!
이렇게! 너구리! 너무 매워! 너구리!
Welcome back, guys, here to more LCK 2019. And today is a special day. It is the beginning of the playoffs. Will be the wild card match between SANDBOX and DAMWON Gaming. Of course, I'm Valdez. With me is Papa. We're going to get into one best of three to decide who's going up against Kingzone in the next round.
And it's so conspicuous, Valdez, who these two teams are. Remember, if you're a new viewer, you only learned about these teams this year. DAMWON Gaming and SANDBOX. A kind of surprising duo of teams to be promoted. MVP, of course, and BBQ being relegated at the end of last year. It was a surprise to see SANDBOX entrenched in a battle for top one at parts of the season, right? They were second place for so long. They've eventually fallen to fourth. And now suddenly, these two promoted teams, one of them guaranteed to make the best of five stage, the other one still with a good first season, but that's only going to be a silver lining later. Right now, they're focused on beating their opponents.
Yeah, and it is just the one best of three that we were talking about, so a lot of mind games can come into this. You know, these teams have already played against each other twice here in the LCK and gone head-to-head. It's been pretty even overall, but I believe SANDBOX was able to pick up both of those wins, so DWG looking for their revenge in that sense. And of course, these teams, even in challengers, they were going up against each other over and over again, fighting one-on-one, but now it's really for all the marbles, and you have to expect some trump cards to come in, some weird picks, some new stuff to come in for this very important best of three.
And they are the LCK freshmen, as they put it on the translation. Nice one, G-Sun, with that one. They face off against each other, but who, Valdez, is a very interesting question, because DAMWON last week, Noguri and Canyon was their new configuration. They were saying before, it needed to be Flame and Canyon or Noguri and Punch to bring that experience that was clearly lacking for DAMWON in the first round robin. But then they were running just the young guns together that were playing during Kesper Cup. To me, if they do decide to go that way today, it is risky, because if DAMWON lose game one, yes, you can make substitutions, but you only have one game to get back in. 2-0 is enough to completely eliminate you here. So the roster on the side of DAMWON, very interesting question. Like you mentioned, SANDBOX 2-1, both times out. Also, it's 9.6. There's a lot of champions you consider banning, a lot of new picks coming out. Do you choose blue and red side? SANDBOX is the higher seed. It's dynamic side selection. They will choose for game number one.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you point that out, because so many new picks coming in means that, you know, even Nuguri on his scale, if he does end up playing in the first matchup, it's like, well, do we have to spend another ban to take that away? Is it just really strong? And the entire meta of these two teams playing against each other is kind of reaching the next level from this patch. So definitely some more questions to be answered still, like who is going to be playing for these teams.
And as a coach of DAMWON, you're so split. Noguri is the more talented micro player, but Flame is the veteran voice that brought some stability to DAMWON Gaming. And you're against Summit, a guy who in lane has performed very well. And of course, Shockcoin falls to the bot lane, to Joker on the side of SANDBOX. So you know your opponent. If you want to fight fire with fire, you have to go Noguri, and Noguri is coming off a 4-0 week. But because it's playoffs, can you adjust? Can you just throw Flame in game number 2 and fight back with 2 wins in a row required, or just elimination from the season?
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. I hope you do stay with us for the entire best of 3, but we are going to jump into a VCR. Let's check this out.
그래서 뭐 동기 간의 대결이라고들 많이 얘기하시는데 그냥 뭐 만날 팀 만났다 이런 느낌이 많이 강합니다. 김정수 코치님께서 이제 담원 선수들한테 잘 맞는 픽이랑 조합을 되게 준비를 잘 해오셔가지고 그거에 걸맞는 뱀픽을 준비는 하긴 했는데 이게 서로 잘 뱀픽 싸움이 될지 안 될지는 이따 경기 때 보시면 알 것 같습니다. 바텀 얘기는 사실 안 해도 되는 게 첼코 때부터 저희 바텀이 진 적이 없기 때문에 딱히 막 상체에서 무너져서 이렇게 개입되는 것만 아니면은 그냥 오늘도 바텀이 무난하게 캐리해주지 않을까 생각합니다. 이번 프로배는 좀 화염용, 대지용 저희 되게 좋아하거든요. 네, 하나여도 좋으니까 제발 대지용, 화염용 한 번만 주시면은 저희가 빨리 끝내도록 하겠습니다. 뭐 선수들한테는 사실 얘기 안 했는데 이제 저희가 좀 더 높은 곳에 올라가면은 제가 만약 결승에 가게 된다면은 결승전 때는 좀 이렇게 화려한 빨간색 머리 색깔로 한번 가보도록 할 테니까 선수들도 높은까지 좀 같이 올라갔으면 좋겠습니다. 솔직히 13승 대 11승으로 같이 와일드카드전에 만난 거에 대해서 살짝 불편한 마음을 가지고 있는데 봄 동안 수고하셨고요. 다음 썸머 열심히 준비하시길 바라겠습니다.
첫 플레이오프 무드인데 생각했던 것보다 너무 떨리고 사실 담원이랑 이제 플레이오프 첫 상대가 될 줄은 생각 못했고요. 운명 같은 생각이 많이 들어가지고 꼭 이겨서 승자가 되고 싶습니다. 비교를 많이 애들 하시더라고요. 이제 챌린저스 코리아 있을 때는 저희가 많이 지고 했는데 이제 여기 올라와서는 한 번도 안 지고 싶으니까 이제 그런 꼬리표를 떼고 그냥 더 잘하는 팀으로 이제 인식이 되고 싶어요. 그 탑라이너 너구리 선수랑 많이 친하거든요. 오늘 조금만 못해주면 되지 않을까. 요즘 영준이가 참 많이 잘하고 있어가지고 이제 서로 합도 많이 잘 맞아서 오늘 꼭 그 결실을 맺어서 상대 바텀 듀오 박살을 내도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 많이 중요한 경기인데 다 같이 긴장하는 선수들 없이 잘 해가지고 좋은 마무리해서 좋은 경기력으로 플레이오프 계속 올라가고 싶습니다.
예상보다는 목표로 하다 보니까 여기까지 온 것 같습니다. 긴장을 많이 한 것 같더라고요. 잠을 많이 못 잔 것 같아서 좀 걱정이 되긴 한데 뭐 경기에 큰 지장은 없을 것 같습니다. 이제 그때 메타에 잘 맞는 선수들이나 이제 상대적으로 이제 상대 팀에 최적화된 선수를 일단 우선시해서 이제 선발로 내보내고 있습니다. 일단 뱀픽적인 부분에서는 저희는 항상 좀 자신감을 가지고 있는 편이라서 상대 팀에 맞게끔 준비를 한 거라 뭐 오늘도 뱀픽에서는 무조건 이기겠다라는 생각으로 왔습니다. 일단 아직 시즌이 끝나지 않았기 때문에 저희가 뭐 보여드릴 수 있는 것도 더 보여드릴 수 있도록 오늘 경기 꼭 이겨서 좋은 경기력으로 꼭 보답하도록 노력하겠습니다.
저희가 이제 LCK 처음 올라왔을 때부터 목표로 하던 플레이오프이기 때문에 실감은 안 나는데 엄청 다들 속으로는 기뻐하고 있는 것 같아요. 경계되는 선수는 아무래도 이제 서밋 선수가 아닐까 싶어요. 왜냐하면 서밋 선수가 들어오고 나서 그 샌드박스라는 팀 자체가 좀 더 단단해졌다고 생각하기 때문에 서밋 선수를 무너뜨리면 좀 쉽게 무너지지 않을까 생각해요. 고스트 선수가 이제 주도권 있는 픽을 했을 때 되게 잘하는 경향이 있는데 그만큼 이제 바텀 뱀픽도 상당히 중요할 거라고 생각해요. 오늘도 아마 누가 이기던 2대1 나지 않을까 싶어요. LCK 시즌 중에는 두 게임 모두 패배했지만 마지막에 이기는 사람이 승자라고 생각하거든요. 그만큼 이제 마지막에 제대로 된 승자를 한번 가려봤으면 좋겠어요.
So guys, we are back. Sorry about the no subtitles for that one, but definitely felt like the SANDBOX coach was a little bit more relaxed and calm. I heard the DAMWON coach talking about how he wasn't able to sleep much last night, how he was a bit nervous. Nuclear expecting a 2-1 victory for whoever does end up taking this series. And, you know, some little bits and pieces there. Obviously, some focus on the bottom lane as well, with Joker coming on in. But, again, guys, it is going to be SANDBOX versus DWG Gaming. So let's introduce the players that are coming out here.
And beginning here, of course, with SANDBOX Gaming, and they are a lineup that has really impressed us. We're going to do something different. We've got Caster John, so why not introduce player by player? It's a fun way to go. Starting off with Summit, who I think has a very interesting task today. He would have had to prepare against both opponents, and knowing who to go with was not going to be an easy task. We get the confirmation, though. It's Nogari.
There he is, always confident, fantastic in interviews, and great on camera, but even better on the Rift and on champions like Kale, like Rise. Definitely, I would say, not the guy you want to see if you're SANDBOX, at least for me here, Mama.
It definitely means your laning phase is going to be way harder. This is the guy you don't want to face in the early game, but if you can keep him honest, or if he falls behind, his transition to the mid game from behind is poor. They have a lot of issues with trying to play if Nogari isn't actually in a lead. Do you camp him, or do you find the matchup that Summit can do all the work himself? That's the question that only the play can answer.
So now we're going to get a look here at the jungle for SANDBOX. No surprise that On Fleek is going to be coming out here. A little bit of extra, you know, body language trash talk here, saying you guys are going down. Confirming that. He's like, yeah, you're going down, guys.
And think of all the people he dunked on Camille at the start of the season. He has his pocket jacks that DWG Gaming know oh so well. Who faces him, though? Do they go youth or do they go experience? They go youth in top and jungle. They stick with the roster that went 4-0 against fairly easy opposition in the final week of the season. They beat down gen.g and KT with these two. So Canyon, we know about his jungle Riven. That hasn't done much winning recently. His Rek'Sai has looked good, but I think Rek'Sai never gets to DWG Gaming this series. Can Canyon perform with the entire lights of the playoffs around him?
Definitely a big question to ask, as you might look to the top and the jungle, though. Just that combination for a little bit of a difference in favor of one team or the other. Let's take a look here at Dove, as he's
memeing.
Maybe we'll see some Galio today with the chicken skin. Yeah, it's going to be Dove, of course, here for SANDBOX. This guy has always been very consistent in my mind, and does deserve that spot in the mid lane up against Showmaker, coming out here and trying to be cute.
He's trying to be cute, but his second round robin, definitely he grew into his position, needing to be the anchor of a team that had revolving door around the top lane. Dove's best performance this season was actually against SANDBOX, so against DAMWON. Traditionally, he has been someone who's struggled a little bit, so it's definitely an opponent that he knows very, very well. And the height advantage is very clear for SANDBOX Gaming.
Feels that way for SANDBOX against pretty much any team that they go up against, especially once you include the coaches as their coaches. Kind of similar to On Fleek in that they're both giants, but now we're going to take a look at the bottom lane here for the side of SANDBOX. And should be no surprise that Ghost, coming into 2019, has looked so much better, doing his own little celebration of that fact, and will retain that spot here on the roster.
Steals away the famous Prey taunt, searching for power level. Ghost power level this season. He was one of the most improved players in the LCK. Yeah. Showed almost nothing on BBQ Oliver's last year. Came in and looked very impressive. And here's Nuclear. He's definitely one of the more experienced players on the side of DWG Gaming. Actually making his LCK playoffs debut all his years in the past. He was, of course, on teams that were bound for relegation, so big for him to jump onto a contender for the first time in Korea.
We were talking about height advantage. Maybe that's one role where DAMWON will get the better of him, and Nuclear certainly going to be looking to get up to that height on the Rift up against Ghost. But now we are going to go highlight our support players playing for both of these teams. Joker coming in, giving us a little salute. The only guy in the LCK that has been to the Korean Army, and He says, I salute you fans and audience as the oldest player here in the league.
He had to earn the right to pull off the salute here in Korea with the mandatory military service, so definitely an on-brand thing. He is the shot caller of the team. His KDA, some of his thresh hooks, they're not going to be otherworldly, but his shot calling was one of the big reasons the SANDBOX has been so consistent. And actually, it will be Beryl, who once again was playing in Week 10, but has by far been the sub-support on the side of DAMWON Gaming, a player that transitioned from AD carry to support over the course of his now 3-year career. So we'll see how Beryl performs. Important to note, Tom Kench has been the pick that he's returned to a lot. He just doesn't have enough games on the Rift to really have anything past the Alistair and Tom Kench.
Always was interesting to see them kind of flip-flop between Hoyt and Beryl to try to decide who was going to be the stronger guy. But take a look at the coaches coming in as well. Got a little SANDBOX wristband there. I like that. Looks pretty cool. And might get that height comparison once again. You guys can hear what I was talking about with this coach. As we're also going to take a look at the DAMWON coach here. Both these guys coming out for an interview. And as I mentioned before, the SANDBOX one, a little bit more relaxed, but that is also kind of his personality.
Feel a bit like lull ties here. Not sure about the knob there, I'm sorry to say. But yeah, he does look, and he should be a person who is respected, because honestly on both sides, but for me on the SANDBOX side, is someone I want to talk about. Given the charges at their disposal, SANDBOX already, it feels like every time they continue this win streak, you look at their playing lineup, you say, okay, Summit on Fleek, a feeling like they're cementing as top players, but usually player for player, against DAMWON, against SKT, against every team in playoffs, you look at SANDBOX and say, okay, overall as a 5-man squad, the talent quotient, and talent's always in inverted commas in League of Legends, but talent-wise, it feels like the enemy team has more to use, and yet SANDBOX went on winning and winning. It feels like the coaching staff deserves even more praise on the SANDBOX side, and can they be the architect of DAMWON's demise? It's important to note that SANDBOX with side selection have chosen blue side. That means Nogari could have counterpick guaranteed on red side. It also means with so many different picks guaranteed to be contested. We're thinking Sylas, Ryze, Rek'Sai, Akali. There's so many picks right now that will be contested. We're not even talking about Urgot, Jace. It feels like red side should be getting the 2 picks of the 3 that are left open after 6 bans. However, choosing blue suggests we know the 1 pick that will be the demise of the enemy and that will counter future strategies coming out. So what is pick 1? What is the blue side first pick that can undo what appears to be a meta that might suit red side more?
Definitely a huge thing to look into as we are going to be jumping into pick and ban for game number 1 here. As you mentioned, SANDBOX on blue. They're going to start off with a Kale ban, not wasting any time. Taking one of those highlighted picks you were mentioning away from Nuggery.
Patch 9.6, all champions available. Thankfully, nothing disabled for the playoffs here. This will be the playoffs patch, the entirety of that run in Korea and around the world. So get used to it, 9.6. The Morgana ban, a target ban against Joker. Even with all the criticism of his mechanics, his spirit animal is Morgana. Always been known as a fantastic Morgana player. So Morg banned away. So far it's 2 Nogari bans, and usually teams dump bans into Nogari every time he plays because his ability on the carry side of a matchup can never be held in doubt.
It begins to raise questions. What will their 3rd ban be? Maybe just another one against Nuggery. There's still so many top laners available. Ryze, Jace still on the table, but they take Aurelia away.
So Ryze and Rek'Sai are the 2 picks I'm looking at here. I think Canyon, after his Jungle Riven days, has fallen into a nice rhythm on Rek'Sai, but on other picks I question mark him. Ryze for Nogari, he is usually the Ryze player on DAMWON. He's the best laning Ryze I've seen in many, many years. FLICKR in his prime, yes, but in 2019 with where Ryze is at, he is unbelievable on the pick. The only team to really find a lot of success on the Yorick is in fact Summit. He's 5-0 on the pick, and it's a pick that's done a lot of losing around the world. So they're going to deny it. That means that Jace is left open, but I think Jace is the most containable he's ever been after all the nerfs. We've seen Orin work into it, we've seen Poppy. Neither of those are Nogari picks. Does he just go for Ryze and roll the dice?
Other picks that remain available when you have to ban a selection like this are stuff like Kalista. I mean, Kalista Galio in the bot lane has been incredibly strong in recent times, and looks like they're not going to waste any time throwing Nuclear the Kalista pick What will they go for next? Will they just take that support or perhaps go for something else?
See what the decision is here. Now, Orin, of course, is the pick into Jace that we've seen cemented from Rascal, but it's not a pick for Noguri. If you're going to run Orin, why not play Flame, right? So because of that, they're going to just go for the Rek'Sai first round. I think it's a very notable pick that they were able to pick up the Rek'Sai because Canyon, again, likes to be aggressive. This is a champion that is very hard to skirmish against early and is very forgiving in terms of the vision you get from the Tremor sets. So Ryze actually makes it through the second round of picks. It's important to note that Dove has been their Ryze player. Usually it would be a flex between Summit and Dove. They have a very overlapping champion pool. But Dove has usually been the Ryze player, and it's a nice denial from DAMWON. Now, the matchup into Jace isn't a fantastic one. It's decent for the Ryze, but Jace is favored in the matchup, so it's not necessarily a prized pick for Noguri on the red side. He's going to take Jarvan and take the other very strong early round jungler. Braum would be selected by a lot of teams in this scenario, but Galio for another global, and Joker loves his Shen and Galio support whenever possible.
Hey, you also deny it against for the DAMWON bottom lane with the Kalista Galio. Just take that one, snatch it away. And what will be the final pick here? You were talking about even a Tom Kent's for Beryl, something like that, but they're just going to go ahead and take the Ryze off the table right away.
Could be mid lane, but Noguri is, of course, really known for this Ryze, and even in bad matchups. Remember him against Nico? We saw Nico versus Ryze when Noguri wasn't involved, and Cuvée ran a train over the Ryze. And then, of course, we saw Noguri stack penetration on Ryze and then just instantly delete people. He killed Lucian in under a second with just some nice skill threading, so his Ryze needs no introduction. Even in bad matchups, he can be creative with keystones and make it work, so we'll see. It ends up being top or mid lane, but a hype pickup every time DAMWON will lock it in. This means that the bot laners, the AD carry pick for SANDBOX hasn't been selected just yet, and they seem skeptical as to where the Galio will be going, so whether they're trying to herd it into the mid lane, whether they're skeptical. Rakan Man against Joker comes out, and the Lucian is the one that I like. A lot of teams have picked Lucian because it's known to be strong and then just not been able to get value out of it. That's not true of Ghost. He's 8-2 on Lucian.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to LCK teams pulling out the Lucian and winning around it, it's the early game monsters of SANDBOX Gaming who you'd bet on more often than not.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, Ghost most played is Lucian 8-2. The next one is Kalista 5-1. So they take those two away right away. Draven is left available if you did want to hop into it. But alongside the Alistair, taken away is the Braum. They'll just go ahead and snatch up the next best support in Thresh.
It is that very strong laning duo, and also a duo that can be very self-sufficient, especially after 6 with Fate's Core and Lantern, both being good disengage tools, and with the amount of engage that Galio and Jarvan provide, might mean that DAMWON would look to be self-sufficient around their bot lane. And maybe if we see Ezreal, it's going to be everyone's going topside on a farm phase in bot lane. Ezreal would be a fallback for Ghost. The Draven would be the bold choice into Kalista. We don't see it here. So because the first game of the playoffs, no one wants to lose the first game of a best-of-3 playoff series, a unique playoffs format all around the world. Just going to go for the Ezreal here. The draft only comes together with the final pick, though. The Galio status is what we're most interested in. Akali is open. There's a lot of Akali players on the Rift. Lissandra would be drafted into Ryze, maybe dissuading the top lane Ryze, because it seems like we know the lane assignments if it is Lissandra versus Ryze mid lane.
Well, you're also talking about Akali. I remember back when this matchup started to get popular, the Lissandra was pretty good into the Akali, dealing with that one. But instead of that, exploring other picks, they hover the Talia, but then go for Corki just for that farming matchup in the mid lane.
So this is a bold choice. Yes, Corki has a very nice laning matchup into Lissandra, but around that, there are no true tanks on DAMWON's side. So in the mid game, their execution will have to be very particular, because you lose vision control. Who's face checking and not blowing up? Looks like on that lineup, Fate's Core might have to be invested just to allow someone to ward. So because of that, DAMWON have a risky drop. But they also have players who we mentioned and paid lip service to the fact that with this configuration, with Noguri, Canyon in the lineup, very little experience. The likelihood is that if they hit the mid game behind, they'll find it very hard to get back in. And if they're even, they'll be a little bit more risky or a chance of falling away. So they want to hit the ground running. They want to have a good laning matchup in mid. They just want to trust on Nogari's ability to take Ryze into Jace, play around with things like Keystones and potentially jungler attention, and get the snowball in a matchup that should be Jace favored on paper.
Yeah, other side looks to be looking to the late game, but over here, lots of pick. Talk about the Cataclysm heroic entrance. You also got Lissandra in there. Then he makes a nice amount of poke with Jason Ezreal. Not half bad for their first composition here for game number 1.
Just a really hype time. We've hit the playoffs. 90 best of 3s have beholden this one best of 3 that rules them all. Only one team can continue into the playoffs. Both teams have taken their shots. Notable that SANDBOX chose blue side. Let's see if just getting this top lane matchup that's not Nogari favored is the reason they made that bold decision.
Well, guys, it is time. Game number 1 of the wild card starts now.
Get to look around Lowell Park, Valdez, and the thing I am most struck by is the two teams that came in with the biggest disadvantage in terms of fan groups, DAMWON Gaming and SANDBOX, having no LCK experience before this year started. We get to the playoffs, it is a full house. Tickets for the playoffs went on sale a couple of days ago, and every round pre-sold out, even though we didn't have the lineups outside of this best of 3. But it's notable that SANDBOX and DAMWON, who started off with very meager fan groups on day number 1, reach the playoffs, and I see plenty of DAMWON and SANDBOX cheer around Lowell Park.
Certainly it does feel like as we do move along and learn a bit more about the personalities of the teams, that very likable players on both sides here. And for today's matchup, it looks like random skin sale is going to go on. I think this might only be the Korean server, but if you guys are here in Korea, you're playing on that one. Based on the champions that were banned and picked from these games.
So yeah, based on the wildcard games, kind of random selection of skins that are used. I imagine Welsh Corky will not be involved in the sale, even though it was used. We get the zoom in on another fun skin, and the BBQ Oliver's Galio, as we like to talk about it on this stream. As you can see, win rate-wise, everything positive on the column for SANDBOX Gaming. Summit first picking the Jace, a champion that I think in some matchups will be deprioritized now that we've seen Ornn, we know Poppy from other regions. Tanks can work into Jace more often than not with gank assistance, but it's the first game of the playoffs. They're still looking for some priority. It's Comet once again from Nogari. That's definitely the keystone you take to battle back and try to find unlikely lane wins. And we've already talked at length about how good a Ryze player he is. Guess what it doubles down on, Valdez? This man is very, very squishy. And thus, if you set up a tent top side, there should actually be potential inroads for both sides.
And we all know what a Jarvan can do, especially once he gets a couple of takedowns and starts to get really fast with that Relentless Hunter. He loves to go up to the top side and look for those ganks, and we already see his pathing going into the enemy jungle. Just to check things out, spot that the Raptors are in fact taken away.
We got the YouTube exclusive of pause the stream right now and check out all these secret runes down bot. Coolest ones to note are specifically in the jungle. Both junglers took Conqueror, even though Conqueror Rek'Sai hasn't been seen very much recently. It feels like we've seen more Electrocute and Hail of Blades has been a favorite. And then for the Jarvan, it's going to be Conqueror as well. So more investment into the precision tree does mean that if they can fully stack that up in extended fights, could be a lot of value. And do you go Conqueror Cinderhulk just to have a bit of tankiness, or do you double down on the Conqueror stats and go Warrior? These are things that aren't clear. If I look at this game, you go Warrior, hit the mid game, and Corky blows you up. That's pretty straightforward. But if you go Warrior, get the lane snowballing, and Corky can't face check, you feel good about it. So playing to your item build points and how the early game has gone is going to be pretty critical for OnFlick.
Definitely is going to be. Certainly a smart jungler in his own right, as Canyon looks to invade. And does see OnFlick here, but of course with 3 of the buffs going the way of OnFlick and 2 extra camps in total, it will be a level up. So no fighting going to be opted into here just yet by the Rek'Sai Canyon.
Jace and Lissandra able to push early, so double scuttle was actually picked up by OnFlick. That's one of the reasons that he has those extra camps. Rek'Sai clears the camp super fast, so not often do you see 4 minutes 20 no level 4 ping on a Rek'Sai, but no access to Scuttle means that was in fact what happened in this game.
You can already see that this lane up in the top side is pushing. Could be an opportunity for a gank, but instead they're going into the bottom side. Look at this TP so early. Meryl already using his flash. He is dead meat. Now Nuclear going to have to cleanse and flash to get away from that gank. A SANDBOX strike really early.
And that's what happens in the Lissandra-Corki matchup. Corki has damage. He has under no threat of Lissandra in lane, but Lissandra roams better and pushes first in the laning phase. So nice capitalization there by Dove. Really nice team play from him. We already mentioned it. His best performances in LCK Spring were against DAMWON Gaming. And it's nice that they take the invitation to roam that Lissandra versus Corki provides in the early game. It's only later when the rockets are up, when the levels come in, that Corki can actually push fast enough to keep Lissandra honest. You look at where Corki is, right? He's on the recall. You have lots of crowd control. Galio in the lane, Jarvan joining, Lissandra roaming down. It's not like Lissandra gets involved in the play, but it guarantees that they were going to find inroads. So it's a nice team play here, and something the SANDBOX no doubt prepared.
And just her presence there, able to get double summoner out of Nuclear, which just makes the follow-up even more scary. And you were talking about the Scuttle Crabs early on. How about a third one here potentially for on Fleek? Hook does go in, but total control right now is the SANDBOX in this early game. And so on Fleek will net this one for himself once again. Should see a very early level 6 for the Jarvan as well. Not just yet, but a couple of camps later, that's coming soon.
And getting early priority for SANDBOX has been in general, their main win condition during the course of LCK Spring. They've been next to Griffin, one of our strongest statistical early game teams, and they play very clearly more aggressively than Griffin, which is why we kind of think of them as a team that's bringing in the aggressive meta we saw at Worlds 2018 and also from the LPL into the LCK. To me, they're the most LPL-esque team we have in Korea, and with the results around the world, you can know that that is more of a compliment than anything. SANDBOX have become more and more precise about how they open up the early game, and their choice of blue side has led them to have multiple priority lanes. They probably feel a bit spoiled having early priority mid and a winning top lane matchup, and from there, snowballing, getting ahead against this very youthful lineup from DWG Gaming is a nice way to approach this series. Man, that's some interesting stuff going on when it comes to the overriding of CC.
I guess it does make sense. It does just hook you, and then if you're already in movement, I suppose, as a Galio, you can override that one. As very interesting. Joker kind of saw that one coming and was able to get away.
It's an extension of Ezreal being able to override Rocket Grab and Tristana being able to override CC. It's just interactions we don't see as commonly and stuff that's not spelled out in terms of the client as much. So they're kind of the things you pick up over time is when the priority and where the priority lies, but it's not necessarily easily readable and clear like most things in League of Legends are.
Jarvan down on the bottom side. Now on Fleek is level 6. They did just see him on a control ward at Dragon, and so they know he is down there.
Coming back to the point you made about blowing double summoner from Nuclear, it's actually had a way bigger impact on the lane than first appears, because we think about champions into Galio's spot, we think about how Vayne can just condemn away. Now think about Nuclear, who's Kalista, a strong 2v2 laning champion, with Thresh, a strong lane partner, went Hail of Blades for stronger lane presence as well, and that's the standard keystone we see. Now you can't take every passive jump forward and not worry about being instantly punished by Justice Punch and Stun on the taunt. So because of that, had to be more respectful. It's another roam.
They're gonna eat a shock blast to the face here as well, but there's no cleanse on this Rise. He's gonna get dunked as Summit is able to round the bend and come in for that kill.
And Dove is just finding his roam timings again so succinctly against this Corki. Second time he's been able to do it early enough to not take a massive punishment in turret plates. Jarvan backing up in mid as well. Now we see top lane fall behind, and smart of Noguri not to flash. There was no escape from that Lissandra gank the moment he face-checked the Lissandra.
It really just has been Dove, as you did note. I mean, he's getting so many wins for the bottom lane that was probably meant to just farm it out early on, but how about the gank in the top lane to net the 2 plates already to a Jace, who could have, you know, just been kind of going even, maybe slightly ahead of the Rise, but now he's got a really nice lead in gold after just that one roam.
This feels like great preparation. We were talking about how much we respect the coaching staff from SANDBOX, planning so many wins on a roster that on paper doesn't have those top-of-role players outside of Summit and Omflick, who have been very good. DAMWON Gaming trying to respond with a Mountain Drake. They've got Rend and Smite. Hasn't worked for everyone, but not going to be contested by SANDBOX. I think the preparation of first pick Jace against Noguri is actually really good preparation, because Noguri won't play the Ornn, he won't play the Poppy, he will be looking for a carry to run in there, or just Ultra Comfort in the Rise. So because of that, it's a champion that with Snowball should actually be able to find a lot of footing on the top side for SANDBOX, whereas against other teams, you are afraid that a tank setup and a potential early gank might undo a lot of what 9.6 Jace provides.
Yeah, and just taking a look at the gold as well, if you guys are wondering, it's not like Melisandre's losing all that much in this. He's even on gold with the Corki, who has that cull building up for now, but we gotta take a look at this. You mentioned the flash being saved by Noguri. Looks like he has some idea that OnFleek is up in the top side, waiting for Canyon to make his way down, but just the pressure once again will net 3 plates in total now to Summit at 10.5 minutes. So this guy really building the stacks right now on his Jace.
Canyon actually doesn't continue going over. It isn't sure to respect OnFleek or not. The lane control ward there would have spotted him coming in, but he gets away with it in this case. OnFleek not going to stick around. Now Noguri going to take the time to check this ward. Will OnFleek and Summit try this? Canyon just dissuades.
Beryl did roam on up here, but you'll notice that Joker eventually also started to walk up, and he is level 6. You also have lots of teleports on the side of SANDBOX, so didn't seem like DAMWON really wanted to get into it, and that means that SANDBOX is going to start this Rift Herald, and they really want to continue this early game domination.
Right, the Rift Herald spawning at 10 minutes now is being the focus here. Now, Canyon showed they don't want to fight by just poking, so they still don't want to fight for this, so can they actually look for a steal without losing multiple members?
Well, TPs are coming in now, so Joker in a little bit of trouble, has to proc that aftershock, finally does, and here comes Dub, trying to just burst down the jungler, and they will be able to get that in the trade of just the support. Well, kind of unfortunate that Q did not land. That would have been a dead Beryl. Flash coming in as Ghost. Really bloodthirsty, trying to pick that one up, but they got the objective. It was the Rift Herald.
And 5 members of SANDBOX invested in the play, only 4 members of DAMWON Gaming. So it's a 1-for-1 plus Rift Herald for SANDBOX, definitely. You like that initial trade, you can use that Rift Herald summon for turret plates, but the important takeaway is that there was actually a lot of gold donated to Nuclear from this. Maybe they've already plugged and played that Noguri is going to have to battle back. Showmaker's CS numbers are good, but at least overall they find a win somewhere. Was where the game was going. It felt like all of DAMWON Gaming would be on welfare a bit in the early game. At least Nuclear from this finds a play, finds more of an advantage, and will be able to hit his item spikes up.
See what they were trying to do, really just get that jungler out of the play while the Galio zoned. But then Ghost kind of took it into his own hands to try to, you know, stretch the play a little bit farther from there, but wasn't actually able to pick up much.
Of all the players to not really pay attention to the game state, Noguri was the most likely in the LCK to not body block for his teammate there, but he makes a teammate move, he makes the team play work, and that means that Ghost does waste his summoner afterwards.
And he does, returns down into the bottom lane with Joker after they did pick up that Rift Herald. Now the question is, where is that going to be used? You do see that OnFleek has it, but 13 minutes 20, he's got to pick a lane quick. Looks like he's heading to the top lane.
And SANDBOX are doubling down on winning this in the early to mid game, Valdez. It is Warrior enchant on Jarvan. So actually, now you look at both teams and you're like, okay, there are no tanks. Literally, there's pseudo-tanks like Ryze and supports that build tank items, but only pseudo-tanks around. Noguri walking up, but he might be punished.
Gonna force that flash out of him, but take a look at the roams coming in here from DAMWON. They really want to shut down that Rift Herald. Seeing the Rek'Sai, you know that you can't afford to summon the Rift Herald right in front of them just yet. And you have the Galio making his way up. There's the Thresh as well, so no fight's gonna break out here, but the Rift Herald not going to be summoned before those plates do go down.
I mean, not all turret plates are picked up by the Jace either with all the attention. The flow-on effect of Warrior Enchant Jarvan Valdez is that vision in the mid game, which was always going to be so important with all the burst damage on both sides, is even more critical here. Because actually, if you are in a 5v5 A ramp and the fight is forced, Showmaker will find a lot of squishy members because being able to build armor, magic resistant health is not something that anyone on SANDBOX is going to be able to do on a budget. So you hit those item timings, 3-item Corki is going to lick his lips at how strong he should be relative to the build parts coming through from SANDBOX.
So you see here some of the plates, looks like there's a little bit of a mix-up with the number of plates for DAMWON there. I think they only got 2 at the bottom side, which would make that 480 make sense. But how about double mounted to the side of DAMWON already at 15 minutes?
Now, they have no tank for this as the hook does go in.
Okay, into the knockup, plus a Corki over the wall. Double teleport coming on Indo, and he can't get on top of that lantern. It does mean that it will just be the trade for Canyon, who will go down as well.
Couldn't click the lantern there. Should have been possible. I think he tried to clear a ward and click the lantern. Got confused between the two. Should have been a clean 1 for 0, but that's double teleport investment, and only a Rift Herald summon after 14 minutes is enough to stop this being an overall map win for DWG Gaming.
They'll be able to get on in here and do a lot of damage to this tier 1, including maybe Demolition proc for Dub. Messes up on that one, but still a nice amount of damage. Not quite the gold return that they could have received.
Is it called Demolition proc on the Korean client?
I think so. Not 100% sure.
On English, it's demolish, so I wonder if it was demolition was the easier translation there on the Korean side. We have to play on the Korean client. We ain't got no English text on our clients, so sometimes the words get jumbled. This felt pretty jumbled also from DAMWON because the pick is clean, right? They get on to Galio. Galio only procs Archchuck right at the end, so he dies very fast. This should have been a pretty easy disengage. The lantern was there the entire time, but you could see that just trying to click on the lantern led to initially clearing the ward, and there's no escape for Canyon.
The Rek'Sai also not going to be ultra tanky, so just a bit of damage. And if he cannot escape, he will be going down. Speaking of damage, Showmaker feeling the brunt of that Jace that has been already able to pick up a ton of items here. Even the Hex Drinker on top of that Warhammer. He's doing quite well for himself.
Coming back to the double Mountain Drake, the one clear thing DWG Gaming picked up that's not answered by SANDBOX. That means that SANDBOX Gaming from 18 minutes onwards need to start battling for vision control topside. You look at DWG side and Callista Rend obviously has Baron secure. Corki can do great Baron damage as well. Rek'Sai actually does decent Baron damage, but they don't have any true tanks to tank up the Baron. So it's not going to be a turn-off Baron, it's going to be a sneak Baron Valdez. So to stop the sneak from coming through, think about Rise Realm Warp or a Blast Plant over the wall. You need vision, specifically of the pit, and even control behind to guarantee that DWG 20 to 25 don't try for a pretty damn quick sneak of the Baron. Because if you can avoid that time in the game, you don't actually have to respect the Mountain Drake as much.
It is very true. We've had a somewhat extended laning phase in the bottom side as it's 18 minutes in, but still the duo lanes are going at it right now. Feral just returning there as Unlink and Dove going to come in with the strength they have, the help of Jace to just steal away a red buff. Small win, but really trying to exert their dominance that they have built up.
Actually kind of awkward for SANDBOX. There's still 2v2 laning in the bot lane. Ghost and Joker really want to be mid lane Valdez. Look at the item breakpoints here. Ghost is definitely ready to hit the mid lane with Iceborne Gauntlet, Miramana, and poke out, something that Callista won't be able to answer in the mid lane of Rome, but now they're going to get Rome ganked.
Okay, everything being put into killing this Galio, but they're having such a hard time of it. Beryl finally going to go down here as Ghost in a little bit of trouble, but here comes the rotation from the side of SANDBOX. They're not going to full-on engage, as Summit was a little bit late to the party, but either way, Joker does go down. Both the supports go down. At least that turret does go the way of DWG.
Would have been cleaner for DWG Gaming. It only ends up being a 1-for-1, but it's around bot lane, and they're keeping this Ezreal cooped in bot lane. Now, one of the reasons for that is that TP is down on Dove and Summit. They use that double TP. to go 1-for-1 in the kill trade, you'll remember. But it's very awkward for Ezreal to be in a side lane like this and not just looking for his traditional siege with W autos onto a turret. So lane assignments for here, the SANDBOX are actually not getting the most out of what Ezreal usually provides at this item breakpoint. And now Hurricane is done on Kalista before you're supposed to counter-rotate to mid and not get poked out. Here is the play. It's 3v1, but nuclear tanking turret means it takes way longer to kill Ghost than they would have liked. Sorry, to kill the support they would have liked, to kill Joker. And that means it's actually a little bit unfair overall, but the fact that they kept Ezreal cooped up until now, 19 minutes in, is a small win for DAMWON Gaming.
Done that. Next straight coming up here in 15 seconds will be the Cloud, so not as much priority from the side of DAMWON, but they are actually sending a couple of members down there. Lots of go pings from both teams, actually.
What you can tell from the itemization here is that Noguri once again has gone double magic penetration. DAMWON actually do more damage than SANDBOX, which you wouldn't expect with Jace, Ezreal, Lissandra on the lineup with cheaper builds to get to that damage. Showmaker just walks up and pokes out half of Ghost's health. DAMWON actually have their damage online earlier because Summit has gone respectful with the Hex Drinker and the Lissandra has been roaming and thus is about 40 CS behind. So given all of that, SANDBOX can't just roll up with their movement speed on the acceleration gate and the Jarvan engage range and win fights against DAMWON Gaming being respectful. DAMWON instead have focused on damage. So SANDBOX, in spite of a pretty good early game where they made some nice moves, now find an awkward spot at 20 minutes where they actually have to respect DAMWON way more than they would like.
That they do. That's Bong Amortius here for Summit. A nice pickup up against so much magic damage in the Corki and the Rise, but I do like that they have a bunch of attack damage as well. It does mean that Nuclear and those guys, if they can't get in range, can certainly blow up the Jace. Say a Hook Lands or a Rune Prison or something like that. But for now, after that Cloud Drake, nobody has really gone for any big objectives. The Rift Herald play in the mid lane did chunk down that mid turret, but it still does remain here at 21 minutes.
What did you get from Jace versus Rise and double Summoner being down bot lane? Not that much. 2,000 gold traded for 3 Drakes. So it's a decent lead for SANDBOX, but it's not a game-winning one, and it feels like DAMWON actually have more control over the map. So as things lie right now, Dove might get a face check.
Okay, that's going to be that face check. You were talking about this before. We're going to send Barrel back into it. Dead. Immediately goes down as the damage cannot be put onto Joker and his aftershock. A shock blast on a Showmaker, he barely is going to dodge that one. SANDBOX going to take a big win in the fight after the face check.
Big mistake from DAMWON. Barrel could have just gone out. He chose to go back in, and they did not have the reinforcements to make it work. So now the siege has started, and Showmaker's got no health.
And the siege is, it's quite good, especially when you have that Demolish, you've got Jace, you have a ton of damage. Nice amount of damage here from Nuguri, who is trying to carry here, but in goes Canyon alone. It's gonna nearly go down, has Ignite on top of him as Nuguri and Nuclear trying to chase him down, but SANDBOX not gonna allow them to do so.
DAMWON Gaming played so well in the early game, but now in the mid game, they're beating their chest too hard and trying to go in. They're like, oh, we're doing better than expected. First Barrel, now Canyon. Make some pretty brash mistakes. These are the sort of shot calls that in the playoffs they need to land, and the sort of shot calls without flame or punch in the lineup, sacrificing the maturity for those young mechanics that they were more likely to mess up. So things have gone better than expected. These are the sort of players they need to now second guess. They need to calm themselves down, because this game is really up in the air to be won by the next big move pre-30 minutes. Watch this play. Barrel face checks. That part is whatever. Showmaker's in range to put in some reverse damage, and there's Fate's call, but you could be out. Noguri starts to walk up and they think, okay, we'll be fine, but Joker is always going to control too much space for Noguri to get real damage off, so it ends up just being a donation to the side of SANDBOX, and then SANDBOX gets to ignore the fact that their side lanes aren't in the best spot, siege with Jace, and get 2 free turrets from that brash mistake.
Did look a little bit strange. They're really going to have to reevaluate where their strength is in this game before they do head into the next fight. One thing that they do have is Nuguri on the same level here as Summit, and does do quite a lot of damage as he is building up his items. So we mentioned how Nuguri on the rise is always going to be a huge factor for DAMWON. We'll see if they can get to that late game where he can do some sick damage.
He does a lot of damage on a budget, but he's building for lane with a 1600 gold disadvantage, and Summit has now been able to kind of build everything he wants, and also is going Black Cleaver, which, given that we don't expect Righteous Glory out of Nuguri, is much more for teamfight than necessarily for lane. Usually we see Black Cleaver play the Ruin King against tanks, for example, but in this case, it feels like Summit is getting to build everything, and Nuguri on a cheaper budget can only build for lane. So there's a trade-off there for the side of Nuguri. Him being this far down on gold is not what we usually expect, but a definite understandable situation, just given the lane assignment he was put in.
DWG finally find a time to come in here and clear out some of that vision, especially with the package picked up here for Showmaker. Having that movement speed means he can get in range and do a nice job of helping out, even if they do not have that tankiness. As now it's Joker's turn in the side of SANDBOX to sweep on through, but you'll notice the positioning of DWG. Corki in the top side with package, Nuguri down in the bottom side, really trying to split up that map and use that to their advantage to take objectives.
And you also look at item timings now. Jay super powered versus item timing soon. Showmaker about 1,500 plus gold away from hitting the 3-item spike that very few champions in League of Legends can match. Positioning on Drake, it's been DWG Gaming's thing, and yeah, that's 4 Drakes and a 5th Drake Mountain on the way. DWG were never able to sneak Baron, and we already talked about how they can't tank it very well. So given that, SANDBOX, it could definitely be worse around these mountains. Hook lands.
Hook lands, and no aftershock in time, but huge damage comes through from the Ezreal to lock down Canyon. Looked like it was going to be more of a barrel. What's Fate's called out of there to safety, so they get the pick, but a lot used here by DWG.
Everyone overrating their tankiness in this game. Showmaker's pretty far up.
I'm trying to get the engage here on the Showmaker, but Barrel gonna make his way in. Huge hook onto Doug, who has to self-ult here. Do they have the damage to blow him up? Yes, they will on the backside, as everybody is overstepping their bounds tonight.
Has there been a game where Aftershock proccing or not proccing has been so big, Valdez? So far, Aftershock has come in very late. Ranges have been well played around, and Joker and now Dove have found that they've had the Aftershock resist too late for their health bars to be relevant. Watch the replay here. We already noted it previously. Aftershock is needed to get something going. In their procs, he just dies straight up because a frontliner with just some health isn't enough on a Galio. On the top side, Dove doesn't get in ring of crossing range and doesn't get an aggressive ult off because he doesn't take it and gets stunned. So actually, Aftershock only procs when he's at 500 health. DWG just run at Baron.
Trying to use it against him. The SANDBOX strategy comes through, and DWG now trying to get away with this one. Not in range, but here comes the TPs. Dove from behind, gonna be
he's here
to bounce them all in the Galio ultimate. Is gonna get one immediately. Now they're trying to get out to Nuclear, but he has the GA to survive for so long. But look at Summit coming on over. DWG trying to come into this fight now. They're not gonna be able to win it. Only Showmaker is gonna be able to get away with that Baron.
What a huge flank from Dove, and so necessary. Now it's only a gold Baron. Only one Baron buff is going to be kept onto Showmaker. They can't play multiple lanes. Nuguri can't be bailed out of all the items that Jace has with the Baron buff minions. We're going to see the Realm Warp play. This happened during replay, but it's one that we alluded to. Amusingly, Nuclear couldn't get in the pit. That was actually huge, Valdez, because it means the Baron takes an extra 4 seconds and allows SANDBOX Gaming to get in position. It reminds me of the famous Baron take that we see replays of forever. One of the most famous moments in the Champions era is when GBM made a mistake with his Zed, couldn't get over the wall. The Baron was too slow and Dandy stole it. That was actually relevant here because the speed being so much slower means that even Summit can catch up and get some of the stragglers.
Everybody is able to come on in and follow up, as you mentioned. Also, you take a look at that TA that was purchased relatively early for Nuclear. He had to blow that one and also die in the fight, so not going to get as much value out of that. So with only Showmaker now having the Baron, SANDBOX still feeling really far ahead in terms of their gold and their damage. So they're going to be the ones actually pushing against the Baron. And take a look at the Baron penalty kill, I'd call it, on the top side. Already down 1,000 plus gold here are DWG.
And now they've got the Baron in one lane, but they can't play the side lanes like we mentioned, so Nuguri gets pushed in. I love the zoom out here because it's a lot about this posturing. Both teams are so squishy. Any face checks are immediate doom on both sides. We've already seen even Aftershock's not going to bail you out. DAMWON with their one Baron buff, they follow the Corgi. I think your hat's off to them. That's the way it always goes. They follow the Corgi. It leads them to something, which is an outer mid lane turret. There's so many turrets and standing gold still on the map from DAMWON Gaming. They're 2 turrets behind. Overall gold lead is 5,000. But honestly, the setup that we got a preview of with the zoom out is so important in this game. You make the wrong face check, 5v4 is what both teams are focused on.
Does look that way, and you can notice already the backs coming in. Right now for SANDBOX, only 40 seconds until that Mountain Drake does spawn here. You never want to let any team go for triple Mountain. We already saw what could happen with double Mountain, even from behind. DAMWON could just rush down the Baron, so definitely another point of contention, but see if SANDBOX actually do make a big effort to get on in there.
Losing those buffs is so big against DAMWON's comp. If they have Baron, whether they're playing 3 lanes or grouping, you have to come to Corki. Then you're going to be in Gatling gun range and you are going to die. Now it's much harder for DAMWON to actually pick one person, given that side lane, specifically around Noguri, up behind. Noguri's going for a budget, try to kill a magic resist stacker build. Once again, focusing on magic penetration. We understood it against the Nico, who only wants to play for the 1v1. Someone has surprisingly built a lot of Shred in Black Cleaver to try to group, be a grouping chase. Grouping for the Mountain Drake, it's not going to happen. No steal comes through, but given they don't control the map, 3 Mountain Drakes only matters when something like Baron or Elder is there for the contest, and if they get control to start it up.
Or if they can somehow sneak it again with the Realm Warp from the side of Rise, but I feel like one time you fooled me, SANDBOX is definitely going to know the second time around.
I reviewed IG versus EDG on my stream yesterday, and the reason why I bring it up is that a Corki stole Baron with a 520 damage big one. Remember this big one? Add any more AD onto this build and 3 Mountain Drakes. There are actually surprising abilities over the wall like Corki Big One that might actually be able to undo what is a pretty decent attempt at Smite. Yes, Smite will out-damage it, but the margins when everyone's DPSing it down are going to be very fine.
Especially if you can, get a little bit of teamwork in there as well, get Rek'Sai to help out a little bit. It's really going to have to be some clean Baron from the side of SANDBOX, whereas DAMWON, if they can just get in the pit, they could try to just rush it down with 3 Mountain Drakes and a Callista and a Corki Rise. It's insane damage they have.
And it's so tantalizing. That's what they're all saying, right? It's like, we can kill the Baron so fast, we can kill the Baron so fast. Well, they might die pretty fast, but Joker's going to back away. The reason why I say it's tantalizing is young players, hot-headed, really want to win game 1 of a knockout best of 3. You focus on what you can do. We can kill the Baron fast, we can kill the Baron fast, but they just got killed where they stood around the Baron. They can easily be flank teleported when Dove gets that cooldown back up. So the punishment on rushing Baron might be 4 members dying and just finishing the game against 1 if you're SANDBOX Gaming. So it's the margins are so fine, Valdez. It feels like this game's player point will be Baron one way or the other. But I think DWG Gaming are going to focus on what they can do and going to run at the Baron, and let's see if SANDBOX can actually take them down around that objective.
It's going to be a big one. We already got to see in that mid lane what a bit of that poke damage can do as well. We have the TP coming in from Ghost, but it's just the AD carry. But you can see how SANDBOX, with their lead, trying to set up a bunch of poke damage before they even consider going into anything else.
And there's also setting up so many flank wards around the Baron as well, like we predicted. They have no idea that Jarvan and Juan are behind them.
Oh, but they're just going to try to go for Canyon immediately. Flashes that Cataclysm, though. And it doesn't look like there's enough damage follow-up, so Canyon on the Rek'Sai will survive. It's out of the fight for now. You can see he was sticking around for a little bit, but he's going to have to recall if SANDBOX can't stop Baron.
And DWG need to play this game like that old League of Legends meme that existed. Garen is in every bush this game. They will blow up. 2 members can delete any member of DWG Gaming. So SANDBOX are always looking for the flank. You must always play like Lissandra and Jarvan are in every unwarded brush.
Got to be so careful. I mean, you saw that they were trying to go in as a team, but it wasn't enough. And now it looks like SANDBOX are going to be the ones to go onto this. But one ward here is going to spot them going on in. And Joker, waiting in the wings, is going to spot the Rek'Sai. So SANDBOX not ready to rush that one down just yet.
And they don't have the 3 Mountain Drakes to have the threat of speed be enough in order to sucker DAMWON Gaming to come in. And like you mentioned, the ward there was important. Hook's going to land and be cleansed. That is the QSS used by Ezreal. Notice the Ezreal build is going really old school here. It used to be Triforce Bloodthirster, now it's Iceborne Gauntlet Bloodthirster. It's a lot of tankiness. Remember that the Bloodthirster shield does scale on the armor that is provided. As round one play, they're going to rush it.
They were out of vision too.
They don't know.
They have no idea, and it's 3 Mountain Drakes. See you later, Baron. That happened in the span of about 8 seconds.
Oh, I really hope the replay has the vision toggle, because that was so big, Valdez. The last round warp meant the Kalista couldn't get in. Kalista gets in this time, and the Baron explodes.
That's unbelievable. There was a question mark ping on the Baron. They're like, what the hell? Did they really take that? As you can see their response, they're going to kind of meekly go over to the Elder Drake, as that's the next big objective here. But Baron on every member of DAMWON, it's going to be hard.
That's literally, you are told the person next to you is a pickpocket, and you still get pickpocketed. They felt nothing. Their wallet was lifted in half a second. DAMWON Gaming steal Baron, and SANDBOX, understandably, are going to be dumbfounded for at least a few moments.
You feel it here as the wards are going to be cleared out, and you can see SANDBOX do have a nice control over the Elder, but with the Baron pushing in mid, SANDBOX do have this response here and move on over to the push. As here we go, the package coming on in. Showmaker doing that damage already to Joker. Takes a hit himself, as that is going to go wide. But you can see now Showmaker in an awkward spot. He took cleanse. He does not have TP to get back in here.
Showmaker actually really misplayed that. He wanted to get a pick with all his damage, but he doesn't have lifesteal in the build, and the enemy has to come to him. They have the Baron buff. So Showmaker not having full health really does play against the Baron buff here. Just a small mistake, just a rush of blood to the head. Very likely that one of those will decide the game, because the last rotational play from DAMWON gives them the immediate lead, but doesn't give them positioning over the Elder Drags.
Looks like double trinket coming on in. They're trying to bounce on a Showmaker here. It's not going to work out, and now full health from the side of DAMWON. They're considering wrapping around.
They want SANDBOX to come to them. They have control over the Elder, and the Elder value here, holy guacamole. They have 5 Drakes. The Mountain Drake means that Corki will accidentally kill turrets, so because of that, they're going to push through mid and try to play both sides, and all SANDBOX can really do is run an Elder and hope DAMWON comes to them.
So they're going to start it up here, see if they can actually get this one going. But take a look at Nuggery's position. Looking for the flank, as is Canyon from behind. Look at the damage. Already goes out on a dub. He's half health, and Joker just desperately going to flash on in there. Now they're going to re-engage from behind. Summit is going to try to go into that backline, but Nuclear going down up at the top side has to come in. But 2 kills do go the way of DAMWON, and somehow they're able to turn that around.
And you get the Elder as well. Jace got backline access, but you can't answer the front line. You can't answer Corki in any way. Realm Warp used again. The recall to stop there being any backdooring attempts. And watch these turrets explode.
See you later. That's one of them. We got a TP coming in too, and they're not wasting
They have to fight them now, otherwise the turrets will just die as an afterthought.
Looks like they're going to go in for the Nexus turrets, but doesn't seem like DAMWON show any signs of stopping here. They're continuing on. They want to win the game right now.
Because of the Elder. The Elder's with Mountain. It's insane.
They just don't even exist anymore. As the shot flash is just laughable.
Just kill the turrets, kill the Nexus.
They're trying to kill Nuggery here, but he flashes away, and he's got a massive shield on Fleek. Not quite able to do enough damage. Look at Nuclear in the back line. Just gonna auto it down, and GG, DAMWON Gaming coming in from behind, take game number 1.
Make the right shot call. You have 45% bonus damage to structures. Just kill the structures. Don't worry about the KDAs. The Elder comes down. SANDBOX tries to get in the back. They kill the Kalista, but the Corki does all the heavy lifting. That was an action-packed game, and DAMWON Gaming just about get over the line.
Gotta hand it to them. They put a lot of focus on those Drakes. They rolled well with all the Mountains, and with the Rise, that's like the perfect comp to go for it too, with Kalista and Corki. The insane amount of damage to knock down those objectives. if they're out of vision for 2-3 seconds, you might just lose the Baron. And we saw that happen a couple of times.
Nogari for the win, says this OG TV fan. Hello to you. Been here a couple of times already. I'm sure that O Gaming is broadcasting this as well. That was a bit of a barn burner. Definitely there was some mistakes on both sides. We could definitely see the sort of thing where VOD review would bring a lot for both coaches to take away from it. But overall, DAMWON Gaming, it was that Realm Warp, right? A Realm Warp won them the game. Would love to see it with the Vision toggle. But the Realm Warp to pickpocket Baron was so beautiful. And the saddest question mark ping of, what? How did we lose the Baron?
I don't have the sound on. Did they just take that objective? Weren't they just in the mid lane? Yeah, they were. All 5 of them. And then they poured it into the Baron pit and took it away. I'd like just someone to make a timer shot of like how long exactly it took with like the timer ticking. It's probably like 7.5 seconds.
I think in 2 times speed, it would be instant. In half speed, it'd be real fast. We can look over the numbers here. Nogari did more damage. Probably a lot of it backloaded to that final fight, but mostly had to be at the whims of Summit, who had an item lead. He picks up his rise, the team works around him, and Corki, who was a passenger for so much of the game, bring on the Baron, bring on the Elder, and you can see that SANDBOX's gold lead, which extended to 36 minutes. A Baron, 2 Barons, Elder, game over.
Seeing damage there from Showmaker, was able to scale on up, and well, they made it happen, especially in that last fight. They stuck together, and that's really where I feel like DAMWON were able to put the nail in the coffin, take that Elder away, and win the game. So props to them. They take game number 1. Guys, this is only a best of 3 to decide who goes up against King Zone in the next series of the playoffs. So one more win, and DAMWON could be moving on. So make sure you guys are tuning in for the next one. Will be game number 2 of SANDBOX versus DAMWON up next. Welcome back, guys. Game number 1 did go the way of DAMWON Gaming up against SANDBOX here at the best of 3 of the wild card to decide who's going to move on to the next round of the playoffs here at LCK Spring 2019. Showmaker able to show up with his Corgi. It got late enough in the game and they snuck enough Barons for DAMWON to come back and sneak that game away.
And honestly, SANDBOX played so well that I'm actually going to award my MVP vote to an ability. It's Realm Warp, because Realm Warp won them this game. Now, Mountain Drake would be another good argument, but SANDBOX Gaming controlled everything except the Drake. They had a lot of gold in their team. They had a Jace who was so powerful, but they didn't turn that into Drakes. They tried to find leads elsewhere. That meant that they left it open to the gods of RNG, so you don't focus on the RNG, you focus on the objective control. The team with the priority lanes should get what they want, and clearly they didn't put enough time into Drakes, and from there, it went away from them when they were really in control of the pace of the game. So SANDBOX, I'm going to be looking to see if they can rebound in terms of having another game plan that's easy to execute in the early game, but easy to translate to the mid game, because the mid game transition, surprisingly, was mistake-laden from the side of SANDBOX.
DAMWON here on blue. SANDBOX on red. Gonna start off with the same ban that DAMWON did in game 1 and take away Joker's Morgana, and same thing with Kale here against Nugger.
Order of business, SANDBOX Gaming does not have side selection in game number 2. They chose blue in game number 1. DAMWON Gaming, their only side selection of the series, they do choose blue side for game number 2. Now, Jay's first pick could definitely be reiterated. Ryze answer, and Ryze in general is going to be denied, so they are setting up for another potential big Nuggery pick. He doesn't get 3 bans against him. How lucky, only 2.
Feels good,
wait,
but how
Silas
about Silas that's available? They just give it over.
All right, well, in
Extremely
Korea,
questionable.
Silas has been super highly prized, but this might actually be calculated by SANDBOX, because DAMWON Gaming's best Silas player is, in fact, Nuggery, who is undefeated on the pick, but Jace has a pretty good matchup into Silas overall, and you don't get much value out of stealing. I guess you get to become Jace, or you could have a WTF2 Jace moment, which is pretty exciting to look forward to. But power-wise, you definitely look at it and say, wow, Silas opened for the first time in a long time since it was re-enabled. And DAMWON Gaming are pretty much locking in all the champions that people are tilted about in solo queue and around the world.
If only Kale were left available as well, but that one was banned. Probably like Silas should have been. There's a reason it was perma-banned up until now on 9.6 in Korea. We didn't see it once until now, as was first pick and snatched up immediately as Joker gonna hop onto the Thresh this time around.
So with Callista locked in, the Draven threat is gone, and they don't have to think about banning AD carry second round. That's why the Vayne introduction is taken. Ghost notably hasn't played any Vayne so far in the season yet. 1 game from Nuclear. Now, DAMWON Gaming won't necessarily want to make the comp around Nuclear. It feels like that's where they've tripped up. Nuclear hasn't been able to be kind of the MVP hard carry that's been needed, that some other AD carries have been able to do this season, but he doesn't have to be. He has big carry top laner and a carry mid laner as well. I think Rek'Sai getting through to Canyon is a very big surprise for me 2 games in a row. Now, I didn't have an outstanding game in game number 1, but Rek'Sai can be tricky to draft against, and DAMWON Gaming with no first round jungler might be able to get a double ban out here. I don't think we're going to finally see that jungle Jace that I've hyped up from time to time in the playoffs, but we'll leave that morsel up. Will we see the Jax and what the Jax represents, given that the Jax hard carry from OnFleek happened in SANDBOX Gaming versus DAMWON last time out?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it into this one, but we would be beginning to line up a lot of AD in this one, would allow Dove to hop onto something very hard on the AP. And speaking of which, his LeBlanc is going to be taking away both of these guys. Very good at the LeBlanc. Showmaker 6-1, Dove 4-2. So just going to be taken off the table.
And we're seeing the week 10 meta spill into playoffs, because Lissandra, notably, has not been picked or banned so far. And the priority on Lissandra has never been lower. It might actually be just completely ignored in this draft. Very potential for that. SANDBOX desperately want to know who the hell is going top lane or mid lane. They need to know where Silas is going. So can DAMWON Gaming keep it flexible in this round? The answer instantly is yes. They lock in Akali. So that does mean they have very flexible lane assignments, and it's much harder to find champions that work against both. Support pick from Beryl is a bit of a different one. It's the old Thresh counter pick, the superior hook champion in the 2v2 in the Nautilus.
Does come on in. Think I did just see the 0% win rate flash before my eyes, but obviously doesn't mean too much with the low amount of games that it has been played. But I just love coming into playoffs up a game, the confidence to just lock that down and say we're going to go for this. Now,
this
final
would be
pick for Dove.
It would be a Sylas counter pick if you think about it. The ults here to steal are not so great. Consider which ult are you stealing as Sylas? You can impersonate Jace. The Jarvan ult obviously is pretty decent. The Karma ult not great. The Thresh ult is okay, and I guess Kallista's probably one of the most interesting ones. And just honestly, who do you bind yourself to? At level 1, Rek'Sai becomes old Rek'Sai if you bind yourself to the jungler because she gets an AoE knock-up, the one thing she doesn't get with all her buffs.
That would definitely be an interesting one, but you have to think about the Nautilus hopping on in there would be kind of funny as well.
Another CC for Nautilus?
Yeah, just hop him in, and it's like whoever he locks onto is not moving for 10 seconds.
And that's 5 CCs if you add in the... Because notably, Nautilus is the only champion with 4. We got the end of the flexes, and notably, it's not Kalista top... Akali top lane. Like I might have imagined. Akali can drop aggro on a Jace all-in really hard with the buffs to the Shroud. And you get Sylas top lane for Noguri. So they're going with the player that's performed best on the pick. Noguri undefeated on the Sylas. It's a champion that gets priority in almost every lane. Guess what? It's a player who loves to push up and be aggressive.
Gotta like it. Still just packing insane damage once again with the Vayne and the Akali picks that did eventually come in. And I love that gigantic front line with the Nautilus. They were thinking about the Poppy, but they took it a step further in terms of the size, I suppose.
Karma will be able to poke out Akali at points, and obviously can hit the Akali pretty easily in Shroud. Sylas versus Jace, we're almost guaranteed WTF 2 Jace. I, for one, welcome the 2 Jace overlords at DAMWON Gaming. They've got a lot of tier list picks, but you can see the synergy and 2-item spikes available to SANDBOX. SANDBOX want to win this game hot and heavy in the first 25 minutes.
They're desperately trying to, so game number 2 going to start. Let's see how it goes.
SANDBOX fans a little bit meager there. We're on the SANDBOX side, and yet they are showing a bit of pause. Understandable after losing game number 1. So many champions that Sylas hates to see on the enemy team here. But Sylas will still be that pick that is so powerful. And we're going to see the bind that we talked about. It will be onto the Rek'Sai, an AoE knockup on Rek'Sai. 2 Jaces, 1 game. It feels like the memes write themselves, but SANDBOX have very much drafted a screw Sylas comp. So let's see if they can get away with that, because there's not a lot of value in the ultimate and the laning matchup against Jace. Yes, you can get some priority early because you can just abuse the passive, but overall Jace will be very favored in the trades.
Nice little ward there from the side of DWG Gaming. Spots 4 members of SANDBOX coming on in. They are going to sweep it away and kill that ward, but they will anyway force the red buff to go that way. And take a look, guys, actually, more importantly, Summit is mid against the Akali on the Jace.
So he's going to choose this lane matchup. I think in a long lane, you get a lot of value out of Shroud being able to drop aggro, and it's still going to be relevant in this lane, but it's much easier to gank. Here's on Fleek.
He's going to force that flash, easy peasy. On Fleek doesn't have to use much.
On Fleek doesn't give up any free Rift Scuttles, so we know, and he's actually interested in blue buffs and Croaks as well. Grump, I should say. Here is the rune setup. Aftershock, the pretty standard rune choice, so we know Noguri taking a lot of free damage, and, well, this lane sucks at level 1 for the Sylas.
It does, but I just love how they're really trying to extend on Fleek's dominance in that one. But take a look at some of the picks that do come in here.
Oh, undefeated squad from DAMWON Gaming.
There you go. Beryl, technically undefeated.
No,
first time on this one.
He's never won, but he's never been defeated either. And we're going to go glass half full when we're trying to sell them.
Oh, these guys, mostly defeated. But good win rates across the board.
And these Picks also are so powerful early game, and they've gone for early game lane assignments for Karma into Sylas to try to poke him out. If Karma gets a Ardent Sensor early, you know exactly what's happening here. 2-item Kalista, Jace in general. They have, you know, very little magic damage threat, so you could understand trying to build AP, but then I think you just subvert the comp if you try to go, say, Rod of Ages or scaling AP on the Karma. You need to win this game pre-30 minutes or have an unassailable lead at that point. So SANDBOX Gaming, they have a lot of ways to attack DAMWON early, and DAMWON really have nothing happening until we see 1-item completion on Akali. Unless Rek'Sai can really just win the game straight up with amazing jungle performance.
Yeah, so before these games did start, I feel like you and I were on a similar page where it felt like the team that was going to win game number 1 would just take the whole series, but we saw that the players themselves expected a 2-1, and so far it looks like the teams are very even. We're going to have our first fight of the game. Nice stun into the wall. So we do have OnFleek coming on down, and he's level 4. Looking for some action. Really trying to force this one onto that.
Engage!
Oh, that CC, but he's able to buffer it. They get on top of Joker, but he is able to flash away.
Top lane.
Meanwhile, top side here, Nuguri does he have that Kingslayer trying to get on in. No mana for Dove. He's going to knock him up. But the minions and the auto, it's going to be enough. First blood goes to Dove in the solo kill.
Nuguri tries to play for lane, but he's not able to do it. Really big that Karma picks up the kill. If Karma goes in the death chamber, maybe Sylas can subvert. A tricky matchup against the Karma. Karma picks it up. Nuguri has to lick his wounds. They both TP in, and I think the man fighting hasn't stopped.
Gonna get a lot of fighting overall of this map, especially as Canyon is again down in the bottom side. No flash here on Joker, but he's not gonna try to force it this time around.
Sylas has not been available to be picked ever since the global ban ended at the start of week number 10, and there's many reasons for that. But you also think about, if you just are focused on what we've seen in the LCK, Sylas is the name that we use over here because Sylas just kept losing Valdez.
Yeah.
So why the Sylas priority is an important question, and it's because the champion does so many things so well. Champion who can steal away ultimates, and some champions have to have low-powered QWEs just to get a sick ultimate. Sylas just says, thank you very much. I have a QWE that lets me get priority in almost every lane, almost the operative word. And from there, Fade, I have a hard CC that procs Aftershock, and I get to steal your ultimate. I'm just a better champion, and in some cases that works. Also, in a draft, you first pick Sylas, he could go in jungle, mid, or top, usually mid-top, make it clear, and has very good matchups into a lot of lanes and has push priority. And as the enemy team, you're like, oh, do we have to draft Udyr, Karma, Jace, champions that have low-value ultimates? So for drafting, it sucks to give up Sylas, but you can also put together a screw Sylas comp, and SANDBOX Gaming have gone a pretty long way to do that. But the jungle attention comes through from the Rek'Sai, the turret plate comes in, and Nuguri in his 2 undefeated games on Sylas was heavily targeted, fell behind, but had some great team fight Sylas. It might have to be team fight Sylas because we get a replay of the 1v1.
It's hovering over the cooldown as well, just to give you a better idea of what he did not have available.
It goes in without Kingslayer up, and by the time it pops the Kingslayer, look at this, flashes away from what would have been Kingslayer. The heal never comes through. Yeah. Punked by Summit, nice 1v1 moment for him. Punked by Dubby.
I got him.
My mind went to Summit because of the top lane, but it was Dub, of course. So while he wasn't celebrating, nice moment for Dub in the top lane.
Yeah, both Dove and the left side coach, always calm, cool, collected, not showing too many emotions. They know it's just the 1 kill, but it is definitely a big one that we did mention. He also said at the end of that, no flash for Sylas, so did see afterwards OnFleek return to the top side to help out.
We have 4 teleports, so the lane assignments can persist as long as they want. That means the WGF2 Jace is perhaps never going to happen. We'll wait and see. Nuguri ever hijacks the form of the Jace. Ghost and Joker on the Kalista Thresh lane. We talked about how Nautilus, that lane counter, Nautilus looked pretty good in the all-in that we saw bot lane, but had to split his CC between 2 members. In the end, right now, lane is in a really awkward spot. Canyon was topside, and now actually, Ghost and Joker, they're smartly not going to go too hard on this, at least for now.
Coming over the wall here, Tilling Smite as well. They actually forced the flash out of a Kalista. Can be hard to do at times, but I suppose he was really scared about any follow-up.
And I think that's right. I think he was spooked, Valdez, because if I know for sure Beryl doesn't have flash, even Nuclear having flash up, you're almost certainly not going to die there with your heal up. So it's such a very scared flash, and something that Ghost has done over his career has been a little bit spooked, a little bit second to the punch, and even in good matchups, sometimes respected opponents too much. And that's very much a best of 3 losing game 1 move from Ghost. Might not be too costly, might be something that Canyon returns to.
I mean, he's still down on the bottom side, right? And hanging around with that red buff. Looked like they were coming on in, but take another look at the top side here as Snugger, even after that solo kill, doesn't seem too deterred to continue pressuring the top lane and get another plate.
I'm very surprised that Dove has shown so much respect. Remember, Canyon was shown bot side, and you can take really nice trades as Karma, and Dove has given up 10 CS and turret plates, so very surprising to see Dove not continue to apply pressure after in the first kill. Karma's not applying pressure, Valdez. Yeah. What is he doing?
Look at the timing here. Flash for both Canyon and Beryl just came up. They were waiting for this moment, but looks like Ghost and Joker, they know the timing. They're going to move out of the lane as that does happen. Looks like they're even taking the scuttle crab here as we go along.
Nice little move from them. Good timing's pointed out there, Valdez. I worry that if Karma just lets Nuggery farm, it negates the whole point of having a top lane Karma. Lost chapter, we'll see if that is going to be an entire loot. Ardent Sensor timing is really the important thing for me. I feel like if you don't go Ardent Sensor first or second item, then don't even bother and try to be an AP nuker. You look at DAMWON's team and you say the front line is really only Nautilus with Aftershock proc. Everyone else is pretty squishy, but actually Nuggery, depending on the build you go, could be a frontliner that can absorb Karma damage as well.
Take in every so often a look at the mid lane, as remember SANDBOX was the one to try to switch up the lanes. He is down a bit. Both of the laners have gone for very lane-specific items, Hex Drinker and the Arm Guard taken respectively here. So Summit doing a nice job to extend that lead and even get a plate here in the mid lane.
Turret plates for Jace. He probably has the highest average turret plates for champions if we had that stat. It has to be the way, right? Just given how Jace has so many great matchups. Watching the play up top side. Zombie Ward actually getting a lot of value from Dove. Has that one down. Nuggery taking aggressive trades. He only knows how to go in, Valdez.
We have learned that from here as, okay. Gonna shell out a bit of his own damage, stealing the Karma ult there. Like it.
Stealing ult, remember, gives a passive, and in this case gives a bit of burst from the Munch. Q was provided there. Still, not going to be super impactful team fight-wise. We're waiting to see Rek'Sai launched into a backline, but the Warrior Rek'Sai will obviously want to get out pretty quickly after that big engage. Side lane matchups are going to be so interesting. Summit has gone. Hex Drinker needs that for lane, needs that to survive in Akali in the side lane, because from our experience of the Akali Jace top lane matchup, you hit those item timings and suddenly solo kill potential in a long lane is always a consideration for the Akali.
Shooting that over the wall. Unfortunate positioning. Looked like the max range of the Jace, but Showmaker also going to make his way over and clear out that ward of his own with the help of Canyon's presence. Both these junglers still looking for an opportunity in these lanes. Haven't really found too much outside of the bottom side.
Cost of Canyon spending time bot side, then finding nothing bot lane is it awkwardly. Vayne's actually pretty down in CS, about 20 CS disadvantage. Jace in the mid lane, able to, in a short lane, get a lot of reliable poke onto Akali, so CS leads, and that solo kill. The reason that SANDBOX Gaming is able to find a good start, but Nuggery is up in CS. And we're not at the point yet where Showmaker and Nuclear have hit item timings. Item timing delayed in mid, very respectful here with going for the entire sequence. Arm Guard before, and he's siding with the Gunblade. SANDBOX Gaming will rue the fact they weren't able to control Drakes in game number 1. They've got some nice leads, mid and bot lane. They've got the first Drake, they want to keep it stacking for them.
Beryl now coming on in, just gonna Straight up base check this, but there is a Rek'Sai behind. They do get the knockup here on a Ghost, but they don't have the damage just yet. Coming from behind here is Showmaker, and finally he is going to go down as Silas makes his way in. A double kill for Nuggery. Has the heal even from the AD carry and stays alive. DAMWON Gaming able to get 3 off of the back of that.
They come from all angles, and SANDBOX can't find the positioning with the Karma being able to buff everyone. Joker and Ghost die with flashes up. Came from all angles, there was no answer, and now DAMWON Gaming get the 3 kills, stick the landing on what has been, so far, a bit of a rough early game laning phase. We watched the replay here, it's a double recall spot, and Beryl, who hasn't been able to get things started in the lane, walks up, is Nautilus. We know all about the CC he provides, and the threat range of DAMWON Gaming's frontline means never any pressure onto Nuclear. He doesn't end up being the hard carry, but he ends up getting 3 autos that aren't possible for the Kalista. Kalista wants to hit her timings and run in a comp like this. She can't. But DAMWON Gaming, Coach Kim Jung-soo feels pretty hyped, and so does Nuclear.
He said one word. We all know that word. Nice. As it was pretty nice. Love the Cataclysm too. Out of Nuggery to just get on in there. Not waste any time with his own engage for that follow-up. So definitely a huge turnaround here for the side of DAMWON Gaming. But pressure continues down in the bottom side as Nautilus nowhere to be found. Looks like an extra plate going to go the way of Ghost and Joker.
Tower plate's definitely in a comfortable spot. The side of SANDBOX in the bot lane weren't able to take more fire, as we can see very clearly now that we have gone past the 14-minute mark. This Drake stacking that DAMWON Gaming kind of got for free is being a bit more accountable for SANDBOX. They've taken one, but now the Cloud Drake is stuck on the map for a little while without there being any further inroads onto it. And Nuggery, he actually has an item lead over the Karma, and you know, he went Leandri's for lane presence. I think his lane presence looking pretty on point. Luden's, I should say.
Yeah.
Lane presence. Yeah. Luden's Leandri's pretty good.
It's quite good. And the poke dam is also clearing the lane, obviously. A top-notch AD item. If you're not building that one, what are you doing? As tons of vision control up in the top side. We're not going to see any Rift Heralds here taken before plates do go down, but still a lot of vision committed to by DAMWON up in that top side.
The only person who's not ready to go is Showmaker, who cribbing together the second parts of his Gunblade. Once the Gunblade is done, I think Akali hits a side lane and things start to fall into place for DAMWON. SANDBOX want to force hard. We've talked about that from Champ Select. You can definitely see the zoom out to know that's what they're thinking, but Canyon's in good counter gank positioning here.
Oh, Joker in so much trouble. He's going to have to use Bane's call to get out of that one, but the knockup is going to deny him going on in. Don't think he was going to follow up, but either way, he will be saved, and the turret continues to get quite low.
That means the counter gank is successful because they're able to dissuade action on the bot side. Nuggery poking away so recklessly. He wants to be Karma again. Living out his dreams. You know what I want now, actually? Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a Silas skin where he's like kind of a little kid who dreams of being like superheroes, so every time he steals, he's able to like steal the identity of Karma, steal the identity of the opponent. I don't know what the skin name would be, but kind of a big dreamer. He dreams he's Karma. He's Karma for a second.
He does the damage. He's diving the turret. Nuggery with the aftershock makes it look easy.
Well, no dreams required. He just gets to be Nuggery when he grows up, and he's growing up strong in game number 2. Solo kill onto Karma to pay back for the first one that went Karma's way. That's a bad sign for SANDBOX Gaming.
See, he was threatening it and thought he could get away with staying under the turret, but the answer is absolutely not, as even Demolish taken here on the Aftershock build. Pretty standard in the top lane is going to be able to take down that turret all by himself.
And I think that Dove going top lane is something that SANDBOX Gaming have done a couple of times. They've been flexible around Summit and Dove in terms of lane assignments. But in this game, he's looked a lot more like a mid laner in top as Nuggery
trying to burst him down.
There's Kingslayer.
Can he actually get him down here? Looks like he's going to follow up. There's the Kingslayer. He's trying to turn it around. Cataclysm coming on in, but Nuggery lives through the flag even. He's going to be able to get away.
It's outrageous that he lives there on about 15 health at the end, Valdez. Nuggery walks away. Not even a compensatory kill over to SANDBOX.
Thought he could fight with the Silas 3 levels down. He was wrong.
Noguri just looking for burst. Look at Dove's health bar. It's not like he's low, but he misses the shield timing, and this is why. The fact that he could never get lane control, he felt much more like a mid laner who was a bit out of position in the top lane. Gets solo killed. Noguri gets the payback there. Honestly, the follow-up play not dying to Jarvan was even more impressive.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that replay as well, but just doing Silas things as the immense amount of damage was taken. Will now get the Proto Belt up next eventually, and is this guy going to be able to be killed? He's highest level in the game now at 13, and well, even though Dove did get that solo kill, we'll see if he can actually lane against him.
This is against a comp that was built and a lane assignment that was built to shut him down. We've been waiting for pro games to back up the Silas narrative of this champion for sure is broken. From the release of the champion, I said, this champion does too many things. It's really been Noguri leading the charge today and in the past. Would be undefeated 3-0 on this Silas. Finally seeing the potential of Silas translated into good build and rune choices so far. Some great execution. However, how about a third solo kill one way or the other?
Noguri's got a leash of his own, and now he's hunting. As he is up a level, is going to get in range as well. Going to flash that knockup is Dove, but man, Silas, he's got a lot of mobility, guys. He's going back in. Could have seen that coming a mile away as Noguri picks up another solo kill.
And this is why they went with Noguri. No flame in the lineup surprises some people, but Noguri is on a charge. He seems so up and about. He seems very much taking the beatings of being on the sub bench and turning them into victories. Suddenly, Silas can easily solo kill Karma. I don't think the Jace with the Hex Trinket turned into the entire Maw is going to be enough. The Silas problem of their own creation, only team to leave it open, is going to be a problem. But here's the force in mid.
Wow, really trying to force that one. They're doing a lot of damage actually to Canyon, but more importantly are going to make Shelly irrelevant as she does 0 damage.
Hashtag worth on that one then overall from a SANDBOX perspective. They made Shelly free death. Silas goes back, has Proto Belt, needless large rod. Oh, look at this. Disgusting. He's up 2,200 gold. And he was laying against Karma. How many times?
And he got solo killed.
I feel like we've seen 3 Karma tops this season trying to dunk on a matchup because Karma top is so strong. And the Karma always loses, Valdez.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Karma just getting styled on here in the LCK.
700 gold effective bound to a 9.6, so just like live, it is not the 300 base included. It's an Infernal Drake, and Noguri looks at multiple enemies and says, you really want to fight with me? And I think the answer is definitely no.
The answer is absolutely not, as he's sitting down here on the bottom side now. If I'm Dove, I'm scared to fight against this guy at all. And you have to sit way back as well, so he's going to be giving up a lot of that lane presence for Noguri and the gang to potentially take that dragon.
DAMWON Gaming can just now brute force. There was so much control for SANDBOX mid-bot. They had huge CS leads, but now they're invading against gold leads and Noguri. And the fact they can see Noguri on a ward is welcome respite. If they couldn't, they can't even walk up as far as they have.
Yeah, Canyon almost getting caught there on the backside. Funnily, he is able to dodge that one. You could have seen maybe a nice amount of burst damage coming on in from the Jace. Did get hooked up, but did not come through. And that means that DAMWON should be able to tie up the Infernals here. Also looking for some presence in the enemy jungle before they start that objective.
Observer really wants the post-game to be synced, so he just puts Summit back top lane.
Yeah.
So that stats can look a bit cleaner. Here's the force. DAMWON Gaming won an Infernal. Good luck trying to contest it, although Beryl.
Meanwhile, Beryl just going to ult onto Ghost, who flashes away alone. Cataclysm as on plate traps himself.
He's going to do a lot of burst damage in an AoE, remember. It applies to all members, not always relevant. We have Cinderhulk Jarvan. This is an AP stacking Silence.
Oh, it goes, Showmaker by himself does have the Shroud. Not quite able to do that much damage. Really, Noguri is the carry of this team. But follow-up is just barely going to fall short onto Beryl as SANDBOX now pushing on it.
Does Noguri take the invitation, doesn't have flash, and needs to actually register his E in order to get into range of this ult. Back away for now. We don't get to see what was going to be some pretty scary bursts from a purely AP stacking Silas, stealing away an ability with a very high AD ratio, like the Cataclysm. So it's just a turret for a Infernal Drake trade. It should have been free Drake stacking for SANDBOX in game number 1. It was actually DAMWON that took all of them, and now DAMWON steal away a SANDBOX Gaming Infernal that, given where the lanes were at, should have been SANDBOX's 10 times out of 10.
Not quite the way it's going to work out this time around, as still waiting for the next one here. It's very even in gold if you take a look at the top side. Exactly even right now at 23 minutes, as we're going to try to get on top of Nautilus. He does buffer that one, and he is a little bit tanky, but not 4v1. It's a nice catch with the Fate's Call. Will go the way of SANDBOX.
Long middle lane there from the DAMWON side. They didn't take the precautions in order to walk up. Very nice play from Ghost. This required his ultimate, and they get a pick. Nautilus very squishy, as we know, from the support role. Now it's 23 minutes, and timers can be so important. Remember, Kingzone versus Griffin was rewritten from a really impressive Baron force around this time. SANDBOX will at minimum get control. They've got a Kalista. Maybe you have to run at it to try to work against Noguri, but his TP is up.
Teleport available, and nice amount of damage. They do have the Kalista. Vision, though, entirely on top of them. The Shock Blast doesn't even do that much damage. Flash going to be avoided
Gonna
here
finish this one
by Showmaker. Getting in range with that Shroud, as Canyon desperately trying to do so himself. Ult comes in from Showmaker, but he's ticking down. It will go the way of the Kalista. But can they get out of the pit as Rek'Sai's going in? Look at the knockup coming in from the Nautilus, but it doesn't seem to matter. Nuguri in the backline. Double kill going to Canyon here, as it looks like DAMWON Gaming are going to be able to clean up the majority of SANDBOX here. Only on Fleek will get away.
It was the killing fields for DAMWON Gaming, just like it proved to be for SANDBOX in game number 1. But Valdez, important note here is that SANDBOX had no lane assignment against Noguri, so had to try to take the Baron when it was actually up for grabs. There are so many futures in this game where they couldn't deal with the side lane, they could never get near Baron and would just lose it straight up. They've got the Kalista Rend, they make it around Baron. Unfortunately, they have no Realm Warp as an escape plan. Their escape plan is the Death Chain.
See the 4-man knockup from the Nautilus, and at first it looked okay, right? They were able to burst out the Akali, and a lot of that damage did go on a Nautilus too, but unfortunately when that much CC comes in and you're pushed into the back of the pit with nowhere to go, and Vayne free hitting, you're just gonna die.
They remove Baron off the Rift and maintain their gold lane with the Baron buff, but they can't actually set up a winning Baron buff in that play. So it's a trade-off that feels bad. You want to say it's a Fiesta Baron, but it seemed like this game was going to head to a point where Noguri would just win in the side lane and they could never group and go to Baron. So they make a Baron play 5v4, they take down the Baron, but no more. And now SANDBOX, who we said needed to get it done, 3:30. Well, I'm looking at the timer, Valdez. 3:30 doesn't last for much longer, and they never got an Ardent Sensor, so it's going to have to be an outplay.
And it will on Fleek here with the Baron pushing on in. Nice amount of poke already, but take a look at Nuguri, level 16.
He wants Cataclysm.
He's not going to be able to grab the Lantern. Actually has to go north, but they can't quite get into the back line. They're going to take out the Jarvan first, and Canyon was the one to die, but they have no front line now to SANDBOX as Nuguri jumping on in. As does Showmaker. Nice hook though, as Nuclear is going to get low. Showmaker as well is going to have it turned up, and Nuguri going 1v3. Does he have the damage? He takes out one, but it's not enough to win the fight.
SANDBOX actually outplayed them. They needed an outplay. They got one. They've got 4 of them. Barrow has no health bar. Can they chase one down as well? Gonna have the movement speed soon. Not gonna try it. No value out of an epically fed and farmed Noguri in that fight. He was actually frustrated that Jarvan died so early. There's no other damage ults for him to steal. Noguri never gets in the fight until he's poked out. Watch the replay and remember that Noguri has almost all of the lead on the side of DWG, and there is no overall gold lead. So while Kalista gets older, she kites back fast. Noguri can't hijack the Cataclysm before Jarvan dies. And Noguri, who's the person with all the gold, misses the chain, never gets in, and they all get poked out because Ghost lives even after the Nautilus ultimate.
And the box just in perfect position. They're funneling all through. It's just not enough to actually make it happen, especially after everything missed. And as you mentioned, no Cataclysm. And go. And a nice
The game is over if they lose that team fight. They win it, and in a pretty one-sided fashion, Ghost even lives for so long through it. Now, the rinse and repeat, Summoner will be up on Ghost. The fact that he didn't have to flash there also is really big Valdez, because his Cataclysm, when it's stolen next, is going to do unbelievable damage. I believe it has a 1.5 AD ratio that's turned into AP, right? So it's going to have a pretty sick AP ratio in this game. Because of that, the burst damage will always register. But if they can subvert the Nuggery pick, and remember, their comp is still a screw you Sylas comp. They gave Sylas a lead he should never had. Sylas in the one, in the split push, they still can't really deal with. But in the team fight, so far, sample size of 1, it looked pretty good for SANDBOX.
That it did. Again, it was pretty messy when it did come down to it. You can see SANDBOX, their response, we're not fighting against Sylas. We're pushing by ourselves, 5v4. We don't care about you, Nuggery, and see if it does work out as 5 members pushing on in. Nuggery split pushing himself.
The race for now. Next game, you're gonna get the turret.
They're gonna get that, and Beryl, unfortunately, is immediately just gonna go down. TP now, they can easily play him. SANDBOX, though, is going to turn onto this one, jumping in the back. Nuggery! Immediately gonna go down, but it's all up to Nuclear now. Can he push them back? He's gonna get the 1 kill on a Jace. That's okay. We're pushing on in for more. Not wasting any time with this one, but not too many minions. The next wave is coming on in, trying to get the end. Is Showmaker, but Nuclear on the backside, they're flashing on in. Down goes the GA, but on Fleek, so close with that stopwatch. Joker, though, assassinated by Showmaker. Now Nuclear on the right side, trying to clear it out. Canyon trying to buy some time, and he will, as there are no minions left over for SANDBOX to continue pushing.
SANDBOX are outplaying DAMWON, but to one, and they're trying so hard to make about what they have and what the enemy doesn't have. And here's Showmaker.
It's a big deal. Baron spawning in 30 seconds. Can they get the kill onto these 2 members? Ghost, though, is hopping away. Ghost here is actually outplaying the 1v3. He gets the 1, he gets the 2, he gets the 3. Ghost is gonna shut him down.
Unbelievable from Ghost, kiting back there. Nuggery's alive. No TP to try to end the game. SANDBOX Gaming, they still want to end it.
Oh man, how does he turn that one around? Nuggery now trying to go 1v3, but it doesn't look like he can. And the shot blast to the face is enough. And they take out the Sylas, and they'll take out the game. 1-1 will be the score as SANDBOX win game 2.
They needed to win pre-30, and at 30-01, the Nexus goes down. SANDBOX had the read. If it's not now, we lose. If it's about the Sylas, we lose. They force onto the inhibitor turret at the perfect time. They were looking for DWG Gaming to not make a clear call. DWG tried a lot of things. They almost got there, and a super play from Ghost. So maligned on BBQ Olivers. And struggling at 80 carry. Pulls it off with the Kari on Callista. And now DWG Gaming have the question of, do we need Flame? Do we need to change things? And can we win a best of 1 to stay in the LCK playoffs?
All comes down to one more game, as you mentioned, and somehow SANDBOX from that position. Very intelligent game, I have to say. So many of the decisions that they made were exactly correct, and a couple of super plays later, they're able to pull to their win condition just barely. Getting to zoom in on Ghost. Had, a couple of rough moments in the early game, but eventually calmed down and was able to carry quite well there towards the end.
And I love that you talk about win condition, because SANDBOX never lost sight of it. Even when Sylas was solo killing Karma and everyone's like, well, look at you guys with your screw you Sylas comp. They still understood we can group and force, and it's a lot more situational about what DWG can do in a team fight. Their team fights often didn't have all members. They rolled the dice on the Baron. They took what looked like a 50-50 Baron, because they said, if we don't take Baron and make it about Baron now, we just won't get Baron. DWG gets a Baron and the game ends, because then Nuggery is winning the side lane and has Baron. Ghost is kiting here was just unbelievable. Needed that super play, but they only got access to the super play by first forcing the Baron, then also looking for the end rather than just accepting an inhibitor in the top lane.
They were able to jimmy out a win somehow out of a crazy set of circumstances, and down there 3-on-2 onto Ghost. I mean, the Karma Shields, a couple of them helping out a ton. Fade not really able to do damage. Akali no ultimate means that there was just not enough damage to take out Ghost, and he played it perfectly, understanding that they had to make their stand. Take a look at some of the stats, actually the most damage goes to Karma.
DAMWON Gaming wanted to hit the side lane with a big Akali and a big Sylas, but the Sylas got way ahead so early, and the Akali, unfortunately, never really had a role in this game. They couldn't 1-3-1 because SANDBOX said, no, we will not make it about how strong Sylas is. We will group and play with Karma's utility and Kalista Jace when they're strong pre-30. And that's why the timer, overall 30-05, is so critical. SANDBOX stuck with their win condition, even though it looked like their win condition was blowing up in their faces.
You guys didn't believe, but SANDBOX made it happen somehow, some way. These guys, very smart, but DAMWON not going to give up here going into game number 3. It all comes down to this. One more game to decide who's going to the next round. Welcome back, guys. If you're just joining us, you gotta look at the Ghost MVP and all of his highlight plays. He had a fantastic game on the Kalista, especially after the laning phase did end. Take a look at both of the AD carries here, but SANDBOX, really intelligent play overall to snatch that game up in just 30 minutes.
Honestly, it looked like Ghost was spooked during the laning phase, right, when he was ultra defensive, and we thought maybe DAMWON Gaming shouldn't be afraid of no Ghost, but in this case, Ghost hard carries, picks up the MVP, that last team fight, replay worthy. Speaking of live or replay, it's game number 3. SANDBOX has side selection, chooses blue side again. So the series so far has been blue side favored. What's gonna happen here? The KO has been banned the entire series, so has the Morgana.
I have a feeling we're not gonna see too much of a change up here, although the Silas hasn't been banned just yet by DAMWON. They could consider letting it go through and saying, well, it'll be your decision if you actually do want to play that. Snuggery not able to quite carry the game 1v9 himself in the last one.
Now this is the first game of the playoffs in Korea. Remember, contrary to every other region, this is a best of 3. This is the final game, and not the 3rd out of 5. So it's all on this best of 1 for who will face Kingzone Dragon X in our first best of 5 in Korea. So, ban-wise, you already ran it down. The Jace this time is gone. But the Rise priority will remain for DAMWON Gaming. No surprise there. Kalista first pick. I wonder what DAMWON Gaming will take into it, because I think Ashe Tahm Kench is what they would usually take in this spot.
Yeah, it's been all about the Jarvan here today for On Fleek. This is going to be his 3rd game in a row playing the Jarvan. You mentioned the Ashe Tahm Kench. That seems very likely as we're flying through this big map.
But I think SANDBOX was very ready for that. They go for the Wombo Engage duo that obviously a no-escape AD carry like Ashe doesn't want to deal with in an ideal sense, but this is a duo where if they can hit the mid-game running, rotate to the mid lane, have Tahm Kench, and just the utility that Ashe provides in her kit specifically with the Hawk Shot, you can get a pretty big jungle lead here. I want to see SANDBOX ban Rek'Sai. Now, while Canyon's Rek'Sai hasn't been that impressive, I feel like Ashe utility plus also just the tools that a Rek'Sai gets in the early game, you shouldn't necessarily be gifting that over. We'll see if there's a disagreement here on the SANDBOX side. So far, they ban away Canyon's Ultra Comfort, which might be a surprise for some viewers, but Kha'Zix is what he has gone to the most this season.
Does come through another LeBlanc ban this time around. Of course, no Olaf to be taken off the table as another jungler goes by, but it is the Kindred, not the Rek'Sai. So if Canyon does want to hop onto that again, he can. Doesn't seem like SANDBOX were too scared of that in those games, and he's going to change his mind and go for Lee Sin.
Had some decent Lee Sin games, and DAMWON Gaming have had some great ones, but remember, Punch is not in this game. It is still Canyon. No roster change for DAMWON Gaming. Coming into game number 3, the first best of 1 they've lost with this roster since they started again in week number 10. Eyes on SANDBOX. They're looking for top lane and ostensibly mid lane, if it is going to be another support Galio. This would be the Nico being flashed. We've seen this matchup twice. It went once really well with the Nico versus Ryze, and the next time it went awfully. Noguri likes to build penetration for lane and has done that in his only Ryze game this series in a different matchup. So we imagine this is Summit on the Nico, but it's not all locked in until the Pat Lady 6.
Gotta wait until that last pick does show her face, and it looks like Kali's going to do a little bit of that, but it is going to be actually Lissandra at the end, as Dove has a big smile on his face.
Final pick here for DAMWON Gaming. They're pretty confident on the lane assignment, so they could actually just take the Corki, have him farm it out, and then rely on Nuguri subverting a matchup that I think a lot of other Nico players will be pretty pumped to go into. Because it's Nuguri Ryze, suddenly things fall away. Another very squishy Corki comp, so no guarantee that Corki will be able to pop off as the game goes on, because in terms of front lines, Lissandra, Jarvan, and Galio, whatever the build path, is going to be better than anything DAMWON Gaming can put together. They're going to be a lot squishier. Nuguri doesn't build Righteous Glory if he can get away with it.
He's going to be going straight damage. That's what Nuguri does.
I mean, look at the two teams, right? It's honestly burst damage versus burst damage, high damage versus high damage, that is also a very snowball-centric choice that means that whoever is ahead when we hit mid-game gets access to vision, gets first access to objectives, and unless DAMWON can steal multiple Mountain Drakes and Realm Warp through, that should suit SANDBOX Gaming. They'll take game number 1 again if they can actually just be a bit more on point with that Drake control.
Well, so far along, the red side has been the victor twice in a row, but we'll have to wait and see if DAMWON Gaming, I almost called them DAMWOX, that would have been an interesting combination, but no, just going to be SANDBOX over here, the Nico showing her face once again. Saw a bunch of that from Gen.g. They were able to avoid relegations, but now we're on the opposite side of the table as SANDBOX are going to try to employ her to get into the next round of playoffs.
We're going to be so interested to see which way the pendulum swings in the Nico versus Rise matchup. The Ashton Kench we hypothesized comes true, but who will go on to make it to the best of 5s all on this one game, Valdez? And I don't think it's a game that's been won in draft. It's going to be one where that execution in the early game is going to be the central point.
It's a big one. Whoever wins this will move on to playoff round number 1 against Kingston. Here we go, game number 3 for all the marbles as we do hop onto the rift this time around.
Lissandra, Jarvan, Galio combo, Wombo engage, and temporary frontline from game number 1 is back in game number 3. Now remember that SANDBOX did a lot right, but only messed up around Drakes. That was an objective they could have taken because they had the smash and grab priority in multiple lanes. They kind of slipped around it, and it ended up rolling high with the Mountain Drakes and made some of those Realm Warp plays possible. But SANDBOX largely were winning in other sides of the game, so returning to that and executing just like they did in game 1 with a fairly small adjustment, I think they're pretty comfortable that just from talking to their coach a couple of times between Series 1 and Series 2, they can make the adjustments to close it out. However, DAMWON, they won that game. They're feeling like they can win this one as well. See if DAMWON Gaming can fight a bit stronger in the early game. Canyon needs to make us a believer because 2 Rek'Sai games weren't that impressive.
Take a look at all the runes down there. An interesting one that we don't see all the time is the Conqueror for the Lee Sin. We saw players when that, got changed. They were trying it when it was pretty strong, but eventually moved back to stuff like Electrocute, but Canyon bringing it out here once again.
Always want to play around a level 2 Jarvan from blue side ganking bot lane. Didn't want to walk up there because you're very unlikely to have W skilled at level 1 as a Tahm Kench. Not going to find it though and was spotted on the vision. Again, we'll talk about the Comet coming through from Rise. We saw in another matchup. The reason why it's relevant in this one is when we saw Rise lose twice against Gen.g, it was Sword going Aftershock on the Rise, trying to negate damage. If you go Comet, you can take burst trades against Nico, and you don't just kind of have your health bar at the whim of the ranged auto attacker on hit Nico.
I do like that. You can already see a bit of that trading here.
You use the W aggressive, just to make the point, you use the W aggressive, I want to show it while it's on screen with the clone, because then it blocks overloads. And that's the big thing there, is that you want to block the Q and decrease those burst trades with Rune.
It's definitely something nice, always want to try to do that, and you can see that Summit is looking for that empowered route just to keep Nuggery in place. You notice that just the Doran's Blade in the pot here for Summit, whereas we do have refillable for the Rise, so a little bit more.
Oh, Canyon doesn't see it. Unfake, I don't think.
Yeah, he's been able to sneak in, but then shows himself and runs away, so decides, no, I would not like to take this fight, and no, I would not like to challenge you at the crouch.
In matchups like this, when you have those line skill shots like Rise Q, the W max first that you always go to for on-hit damage on the on-hit Nico build, as opposed to, say, Q if you're an AP Nico, has that double value, right? Because the lower cooldown scaling is relevant for these trades that Rise is going to increasingly take with levels. So these are matchups where the Nico does feel really good. However, Nuggery has subverted it before. Can he subvert it again? Actually, nice sweeper here from OnFleek to continue to allow the Nico to push up and use the W aggressively.
looks like he took that first and has been able to put that to great use so far. Teleport back to lane by Doug, picking up double Dark Seal. And it's a big fight to bottom side. Double taunt here. Cleanse has to be used by Beryl, as now Flash has to be used by Showmaker, just to get away from a couple of good ganks.
And in the light of those same 3 core champions of Lissandra, Jarvan, and Galio being replayed, let's remember how game number 1 went. Dove's ability to push in the early game before Corki can actually trade and chip down Lissandra's health bar and force her in lane under turret was used to roam to bot lane with that Galio all-in, you remember, Valdez. Got those early kills in the bot lane. And also the double scuttle from game number 1 for the Jarvan happened again. So those things are definitely a replay of our game number 1 when SANDBOX was last on blue side. Canyon on a different jungle champion is trying to bide his time. FLICKR trying to hit the rift hard, but going to be spotted in a ward.
Backing on a ward here is going to try to turn this one around as Canyon going to make that Conqueror work for him and push on FLICKR away. You'll notice that both Ghost and Joker immediately disengage.
The reason why he takes the Q, it's a scuttle spawn, so now he has a health lead in a lane where they don't have priority. No cleanses down, that's why Joker starts to channel the taunt, but not going to be anything happening from Beryl. And it will not be 3 scuttles in a row this time, so a small adaptation gets a scuttle crab onto the Lee Sin.
Yeah, nice little win there. They also have a fantastic amount of vision in the bottom river already. Double control ward. Have to imagine that's both Canyon and Showmaker putting those 2 down. And with the Infernal spawning first once again, as it did in game 2, no doubt the focus will be there as the game moves along.
Will Dove find the roam timing? That was the big win in game number 1. Around level 7 where he could push in a Corki, got the great roam off. They got double summoner from the AD carry and still killed the support from memory. You get a replay on that, especially with Calista Galio being guaranteed follow-up. That would be really big. So much pressure on Ashtam Kench means that Rise has been able to push up and get a CS lead, but no vision now. So we see a big wombo play from SANDBOX.
Does have to devour, but no cleanse, so they got to get on top of Beryl too. Will the flash come in? No, he just goes for the taunt there onto the Ash, so the consume is, the devour rather, is just going to be perfect and deny that gank.
Felt like the 3-part gank that was required to respect all the cooldowns that was up was a little bit rushed on the execution, and they can't even get a flash from Beryl. That should have probably been the minimum of that gank timing, so nothing doing this time as Rise gets to play so wantonly aggressive. And you play this matchup 100 times, and not often can Noguri just play like there's no enemy jungler, but with all the attention bot side, it allows Noguri to once again get a CS lead in a tricky lane. It's not a big one, but even going even is fine from Noguri, given that they were able to win game number 1 with Noguri in a huge gold hole compared to his opponent.
Does seem to be the one thing that's been going well for DAMWON consistently over 3 games is that Noguri hasn't really been shut down in any big way. They haven't been trying to punish his early aggression or anything like that, as Lee Sin started the Infernal, but looks like it was stopped as it is still alive.
Showmaker almost on a package timing when he can do, again, get back, get a shop in, and find those extra items towards Triforce to keep this Lissandra in lane for as long as possible. Clear walks up. Extra utility from Ash, no doubt helping with spotting out enemy junglers and the like. Canyon tried to take kind of a against tempo drain. It wasn't going to happen. First spawn Infernal means no freebies from either side.
Coming on in, you can see the focus that continues to be in this bottom river. Lissandra here at level 7 and has a blasting wand up against just the phase here from Corki. I feel like will be a little bit more useful, but Dove low on mana and a blue buff for Showmaker means that SANDBOX will have to be careful about engaging at this moment.
Was lane control, and the full Rotatos isn't available yet because Beryl's level 5, so they can't go for a big roam play with the Abyssal Voyage, so DAMWON Gaming need a bit of trepidation, which they were showing, we should admit. Package is available for Showmaker after 8 minutes when that first spawn comes in, so he can look to match a back timing from SANDBOX.
Really trying to fake this one and show himself, get a glacial path out, but Dove is so low on mana, you can see that Canyon was just waiting for that fight to break out to immediately go for the counter gank. So good on SANDBOX to avoid that.
Wits End first item. Looks like it's going to be the finish here for Summit. Understands all the early magic damage. Trade will come in, and we know that Void Staff, double Magic Pen, those were all the investments from Nogari. You look at the enemy team and you say, if he goes double Pen again, how could you ever team fight against Lissandra, Nico, Galio, CC? Like, the chance that Merc Treads gets value is over 100%, and yet, this is Nogari, right? And we actually think more often than not, he goes for the pure laning build and starts stacking the penetration.
He'll be getting on that in just a moment, no doubt, as he does. Most CS in the game, though, going to Showmaker here at 100, trying to engage on the nuclear. Peach Call comes in, gets the knockup, waiting for the Ash to pop out, but can't quite time it in time as nuclear. Anyway, is going to have to flash away now.
Joker just desperate for one more second removed from the amount of time you can be in the belly, but even with the best attempt at not stacking CC, all they can get is a cleanse. Canyon using this time to start up the Rift Herald off spawn at 10 minutes. And we talked about those timings where Dubs pushed in. He got no roam, and actually, he's going to get roamed on with this Rift Herald start.
I love going for that right at 10 minutes, especially with all the shenanigans down the bottom side. You can do it really fast as the Lee Sin. You have the Corky doing a good job pushing. You can just see the amount of damage that comes out as Dove. It's just not taking Trace, but Big One nearly takes him out on the backside.
44 HP. Lissandra out of lane, can teleport back in. I was going to pose the question of where does the Rift Herald go, but they know who it goes to. It goes to your boy Nogari. Only as much gold as possible injected into his build, and actually, they're looking to take down a Nico on the back end. It's going to draw a TP. Nogari hasn't noticed it yet.
Nogari in a bit of trouble here. Is going to flash away, but we do have the Lissandra behind you. Can he get a range for the Devour? No, not quite. As that is going to go the way of Nico. First blood, flashing on in. Going to get that stun as both these guys are so low. They're going to flash on in for that kill onto Dub as well. And now Joker in a little bit of trouble, but Canyon gets low and will deter that kill.
Beryl's W was 2 seconds from being available off cooldown as he popped out. Very important there, was in range but couldn't devour. They're able to take a decent trade overall. Very notable that Nogari didn't notice teleport at all. Very Nogari, actually.
Yeah.
Overall, he got the gold though, and that's all he cares about. We'll see what the lane assignments are after this, because things are actually a little bit all over the place. Nogari just teleports into the mid lane and draws a counter TP from Summit.
And then immediately goes to the top lane, which is where he finds himself most comfortable. So we're going to take a look here at Beryl as he does make his way up towards the top side.
The TP comes in early, and Nogari actually...
Really? He devoured a minion.
He actually was slow also in this way. So obviously DAMWON as a team just didn't notice it because he comes in while it's an aggressive W. You can see at the bottom against confirmation it is on cooldown. That's a whoopsie that he hopes wasn't going to be replayed, but we saw it, Valdez. It happened.
I love the observers not letting anything get by them. They're like, wait, why is his Devour down? What exactly is he devouring? Well, it's a minion in the mid lane to push for no reason. As now we're trying to get on top of Joker here. Will he get to the blasting plant? Looks like, yes, he will. That Fate's Call available just in case. But yeah, I mean, if he gets there and he saves Nuggary's life, that might be a 2 for 0, maybe even a 3. As Joker was coming in as well.
I'm guessing if we have any criticism for the observers, we better double check our facts, because they clearly love breaking balls.
Oh, yeah.
That extra replay there, being like, no, this was a fail on his part. So I'm a bit scared now about this. We already called them 200 IQ observers. Maybe they're getting a bit too big for their britches, you know?
They're keeping everybody accountable, that's for sure. Not giving anyone any space. Not even Beryl, who was chosen as the starting support and has played all 3 games. Notable that there were no substitutions amongst 3 games here in this wild card.
Beryl this time just holding back. Good. Like Ash to pull up and then having the eat there. We're finally seeing how this matchup's supposed to go in lane. Spoilers, really bad for Dove as the lane goes on and didn't get that roam timing. In fact, he's down an item completion and 1 CS to get the cull cashed in. So Showmaker's about to just have a huge lead in gold.
Yeah.
When that first minion dies. In the 1v1 matchup, Nogari says, cool Nico counterpick. Nameplates are on in this Rise versus Nico match.
Summon's good too, just like not able to outplay Nuguri as in goes Canyon trying to set this up,
Oh!
but he sets himself up as he's not able to get in range of a Devour. Now has to save Showmaker here is trying to go on the disengage. Nice amount of damage though is going to be pushed back. As you can see, still Corki and Ash will do a nice amount of damage.
OnFleek cataclysmed over the arrow that amusingly hit Dove, who was trying to come in with his ultimate. Dove stays out. Can't turn a kill though, and even though at the end Nuclear and Showmaker are free hitting, they don't have their items to be as scary just yet. The shop hasn't come in with that Cull Gold onto Showmaker. Turret plates 4 in the Rise versus Nico lane is pretty significant. Rise has got his Sorcerer's Shoes. This Rise ain't grouping unless he's realm warping his team in for a Baron. Watch the replay here. I love the Ash Arrow timing. Watch the Ash Arrow, because OnFleek just gets kicked in, and then Ash Arrow goes literally over the arrow with the animation there. You can't override CC with the Cataclysm. Cataclysm will always find its man, so that's the reason why it looks like that's no remake required. We had it a lot in our Jarvan versus Gragas games. Rise almost has the turret down, but actually getting the standing goal is going to require recall timing.
So another Infernal comes up, and you have to imagine that with the package, Showmaker is really going to show him who's boss. He's going to mark his territory, if you will, in the mid lane.
I'm just still smiling about the Sorcerer's Shoes because I'm 100% certain every other top laner in the LCK would have gone Mercs.
Yeah.
But you try and tell Nuguri that, and he just looks at you quizzically, no doubt, and is like, but the damage.
It's like, but I have to win the lane so that I can carry my team. Otherwise, what am I doing?
Sin not going to be able to follow over OnFleek this time. Just Nuguri thinks he is a very engaging personality. They're on to the Infernal here. First Infernal went SANDBOX, be an answering one for DAMWON.
OnFleek not going to give his life. Says, okay, you can have this one, but you'd have to imagine that an Infernal on Corki, Ash, and Rise is pretty damn good as the game goes along.
The as the game goes along quotient is less and less when the Rise is up in gold and the Corki's cashing in culls and has 1.5 items, soon to be a rapid fire cannon. Now, DWG Gaming don't have the sort of comp that makes Corki easy. Big, beefy front line with strong engage, and then Corki and Ash just free hitting from the back line. They very much need to keep their vision on point, and they can't just go for selfish scaling, give up the map to give the scaling, and then just not be able to get the value out of the Corki. So it's still going to be a 2-3 part plan rather than kind of brainless Ornn walks up and Ornn horns and then everything falls into place. But with how the lane phase is gone, this Corgi's having just a long walk. He's definitely not feeling bad about his walkies today, as SANDBOX need to rotate people through mid lane just to not lose the turret!
Why is he giving himself to the Corki here? I don't understand it. He's down 4 levels. Showmaker's like, wait, you didn't see my items and my kills and my cull? What are you doing?
Well, the cull is gone, and so was Galio's health bar on that play. And that just means there's no Galio bot lane, so Summit be slow to this rotation. DWG Gaming getting CS leads that were all on the side of SANDBOX in game number 1, right? They had CS leads and gold from turret plays, they just didn't have the mountain drakes. The drakes are even golds for DWG. We're so scared about how strong this Corgi's gonna be. He's definitely been eating multiple meals, he's fed, and that sounds pretty scary.
Yeah. He's a buff Corgi, he's having a lot of fun. As our little swole boy is gonna be really, really fed, but nice little timing for Dove and OnFleek to come on in here and do a bit of damage to the mid lane. It's pretty much all they can find right now.
And it's the spirit of the teleport bot lane play they could make in game number 1. They've got double teleport compared to a Corki who has to take cleanse for the matchup. So there will always be windows where you get little things. Little things don't mean turret plates, we're too late for that. Little things now mean a roam where they're spotted.
Okay, arrow's gonna hit him, but OnFleek doesn't have flag and drag, has to flash away. Oh, but here comes Nuguri in the back line, the biggest monster you've ever seen from your nightmares, doing that damage, and wow, SANDBOX not able to put out anything here as the Galio just disappears, bringing the whole squad as well. As we're not done here, we're looking for Ghost. That's a double kill now to Nuguri on the teleport.
They got Nuguri to teleport, but only because there was a killing fields for him. Just an absolute slaughter in the back line there, just taking down multiple members. Yes, 2,500 gold after that teleport play. He licked his lips and said, this is a lot of kills. And you know what? He was right.
And you look at his items, we were talking about all the penetration. He had the finish for that fight, and he was doing some damage. Hey, that is for sure.
He doesn't have that Void Staff yet, but you know it's coming, just to dunk the Wit's End even further. So much standing gold is gleefully claimed by DAMWON Gaming, and you just never looking at the minimap for the Noguri flank teleport. That's just not what this boy is all about. But he finds his spot. We should watch the replay, because this is definitely the creeping doom. They're chasing in. The Ash Arrow doesn't hit one of the people that were walking in aggressively, but Noguri had already teleported. We were zoomed in on the front side of this play. Noguri gets to the back line. Doesn't need Merc Treads, apparently, because there's no threat on him. It's just a no-bout ultimate from the Lissandra. Lissandra gets out, but the same can't be said about the rest of SANDBOX.
When you're a Rise and there's nothing in front of you, and you've already had a good laning phase, and you get a fight like that, you're licking your lips, as you said. He's just unbelievable amounts of damage that comes out, and well, the desperation sets in for SANDBOX. They're down 5,000. They are going to try to get this top ends down, who does a bit of damage.
Do they run it Baron? It's 20 minutes into the game. They get a pick. They don't feel strong enough to just run it Baron. Remember, they have Kalista. They didn't have to use much to get that one kill. And DAMWON are now even more ahead than they were in game number 2. So there was an outside chance to just try to run a Baron. It's bold. You lose the game if you lose the Baron. They feel like 20 minutes is too early. But if they repeat that pick again in a few minutes' time, I think they might have to make that roll. And you pointed out, this is Noguri through and through. If he's going to teleport to a teamfight as Sorcerer Sue's Rise, there's no chance he's going to buy teamfight utility with his next purchase. He's going to buy a Void Staff just for lane.
These people do not have MR anymore. It doesn't matter what you're building. You're at 0. He's doing basically 2 damage to your face.
And you know what the biggest problem is? You can't look at this and be saying, nerf Rise, what the hell, Righteous Glory, he's so tanky, he does so much damage. Noguri just builds the damage straight up and, well, flanks himself.
Well, we do still have Elise in. He's going to be able to help dunk this poor girl down as Nico gets 3-on-1'd in the bottom side. Okay. Oh, that was close.
That would have been a 3.5 second stun. It was so far away, but just does go into the Nether Realm. We're not sure where Ash Arrows go when they miss, but that one never to be described. Corky.
He is going to miss his Valkyrie, but Beryl is in vision, or rather in range, to be able to do that. And look at the crits coming in from Corky. Will he just get it? The flash on in too, as he's looking for more. He hasn't had enough to eat. This little Corgi almost gets dove on the backside as he's going to get away, but that was really dangerous.
Big one would have killed him as well. This Corky is out of control. The roams never happened. DAMWON Gaming, they're too far ahead, Valdez, and SANDBOX can't make the creative flanks to make them pay.
Doesn't look like they have it in them as Noguri goes. If I were you, I'd be running away, man. Not much you can do against this Rise, but they're going to try. As he's going to step up to him. What is going on with the damage? You've got to be careful. As it's Noguri going 1v3 on the front line. He's got a big shield too. Has the Devour as well as Joker just coming on in. Trying to do the tanking, but it is going to be the Baron and a kill that go to DAMWON.
SANDBOX is just kind of offering themselves up in tribute in this game number 3. They couldn't find a creative timing to get the Baron off 3 minutes earlier, and 3 minutes later they have to deal with this hopping mad Corky. He walks up, he's the god of damage, and that's before Infinity Edge is even done. Insult upon injury, DAMWON Gaming get that first Baron. We watch the replay here. Too many people walk off the Showmaker. Just able, after the Devour, to make kids pay.
Just really trying to force it, and barely any damage comes out from anyone else. Like, if we take a look at the damage done in the last quote-unquote team fight, it's a couple of volleys, maybe some autos at the end there from Nuclear, but it's all the Corky that basically kills 2.5 people.
Well, Rise also saw do a bit of damage. That arrow goes wide.
Okay, is it going to matter though? Nice stopwatch at the same time for both of the junglers as Canyon almost takes some damage there.
He's going to get out though, no one dies, but that feels like the least of their problems. Nogari's level 16, pushing up the minion wave in bot. Summit will do his best to push it back, but good luck with that, main. DWG Gaming pushing mid as well. At least SANDBOX can walk up to try to wave because Ash Arrow is on cooldown, and so is Lee Sin King.
Nogari's up 3 levels on Summit right now. You mentioned that counter pick? I think it was. Nogari's just laughing in the face of him right now as it's all his show. Joker trying desperately to catch the Corki, but it ain't gonna happen. Showmaker is not gonna miss another Valkyrie, and with Baron, DAMWON are not wasting any time.
Pushing through the mid lane as well. And no Ash Arrow to guarantee this, but they might get it anyway.
Hey, Aftershock here for Dove is gonna last quite a while, but Canyon going on in is gonna force that self-ult, but the big one is just pressuring everybody away. They absolutely cannot defend this inhibitor.
But if they only lose one inhibitor, that's probably more than they deserve with how far behind they are. They took a lot of dogged risks trying to protect, not just being split down by Nogari in the bot lane and 4 in the mid lane. It actually only ends up being one inhibitor. The reason for that is kind of unclear. Part of it is gold timings, Infinity Edge done for Showmaker, some big back timing. They didn't have enough vision to keep all their flanks warded. It's not like there was a big objective to fight over because the Baron is still going to be worn for another 40 seconds. However, they got the first inhibitor. Their item timings are just outrageous at this point, especially on the carries.
Yeah, Corki's just going to do that thing in solo queue where sometimes he'll go up against a Corki and he gets fed, and then it's just one auto and a missile, and you basically lose all your health. You're like, wait, what is this champion? Why is he just able to do this to me?
And there's all those other games where Dove gets the roams off, Corki slowly building 3 items, has no front line, and you know, lives, but it's very hard to kill the damn Corki, but just doesn't put out any relevant damage, right? But in this sort of a game, doesn't matter that he doesn't have a front line. They're so far ahead, and that pick CC brings down so much doom. You've never seen a Ryzen Corki quite like this when it comes to damage at 25 minutes into the game, which is a single Infernal. Nogari in the bot lane again. He doesn't see a flank teleport available to him. SANDBOX gonna have to try a wombo, but I just don't know what a 1-team fight for SANDBOX looks like in game number 3.
I feel like we've already reached that stage where you guys might remember Nogari just one-shotting Illusion, basically, in under a second. Feels like that's going to happen in this game as well, as the push is just never ending. And he's level 17. He's 2 levels even above the Corki, somehow. Just unbelievable scaling right now for the Rise. I don't think there's going to be a chance here. They're going to get on top of Nuclear, though. Devour does come in. And the rest of the team here having a bit of trouble. You see Showmaker's doing the damage, but where's the follow-up? Nice pick, though, from the side of Canyon to get Ghost out of the fight. And Showmaker still is almost at full health. Is just going to shred through that back line that tries to get in there. And by the way, Nogari's still pushing.
SANDBOX plays it perfectly, but they're too far behind Valdez. The items are there, and Summit's health bar is not.
It doesn't exist. The 404 comes through once again to replay as DWG Gaming looks to push to end the game.
Second inhibitor, Nexus Tower, here we go.
Yeah, they're just going on in for it. Everybody's gonna die, and DWG Gaming will be moving on to face Kingzone in the first round of the playoff.
And DWG Gaming take it down. What was a really entertaining wildcard match. So many in the past with 2-0s, where one team came in prepped and the other team did not. DWG Gaming had all the question marks about who was going to be on the roster. Could they actually make the map plays work? And to a great extent, SANDBOX made some good decisions in game number 1 and 2 that only Drake's counted against them. But in game number 3, you start to see the potential of going with the young gun Nogari and the young gun Canyon be fully realized. Nogari is this tantalizing player who's so damn good in the laning phase that if he's empowered to do so, and amusingly, it's from a teleport flank with the Sorcerer's Shoes Rise, he buys items for lane, he takes his bone and goes home, and somehow Corki doesn't get the bone metaphor. And with that bone, which was that Void Staff, the Rise rolls over the members, and a very well-deserved bow from DWG Gaming. They will face Kingzone Dragon X, who have some young players on their roster as well. And wouldn't it be awesome to have a full 5-game series between two of our young and up-and-coming teams in the LCK?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to get, and that's going to be in 2 days, of course, on Friday. So make sure you guys are not missing. Same place, same time for DAMWON versus Kingzone. Keep in mind that the Rise was given over twice, and they banned out Kale twice. And, I mean, Nuguri only played the Kale twice, and that's all he had to do to convince them to ban it. And then he's like, well, I guess I'll just hop onto my Rise. I heard I'm pretty good at that pick, too.
And that's the problem. The reason why I say such a tantalizing player is if he gets it all together, and we had the moment where he didn't see the teleport plane come in, he was already super good, right? He was one of the main reasons they won this series. As an enemy team, in the first round even, you start banning away top laners. All right, well, the Jace is scary, the Vlad, the Rise, the Kale, the Sylas. Like, you're stacking up picks. The Sylas, yes, they were able to outplay as a 5, but he dumpstered Karma in the laning phase after being solo killed. There's just too many headaches. You just can't deal with this player. If they get the pieces around him, he will be that final domino and the push that sets the dominoes rolling. And Ghost had that amazing moment at the end of game number 2, and we must remember that this is our goodbye to SANDBOX, a team that came into LCK Spring, and we were like, well, we definitely know who our 10th place team is. It's going to be SANDBOX Gaming. Yeah. How far away from that? We had SANDBOX in 2nd for a lot of the season, in 3rd. They, at the last, with Kingzone's ascent, fall into wild card, and in 3 games, they're pushed out by DAMWON Gaming. A big congratulations goes to SANDBOX, and sadly, with winners come losers. Unfortunately, SANDBOX Gaming will not return, and they also do not make it to Rift Rivals with this victory. DAMWON Gaming, if the format stays the same, will be the 4th and final representative of the LCK.
It's always hard to watch the losing team. You mentioned the young players on both of these teams, as Ghost has been around for a while, but still feeling it really hard onto this one. That's a very interesting corgi.
It's a corgi butt
on the left side.
Beautiful.
And obviously a raccoon on the right side for Nuguri, as he was the two of them were the big carries in a lot of these games. So you really got to hand it to them. And Nuguri for the win does come true in game number 3. So shout out to them. Really excited for that best of 5 on Friday.
The glass half full of DAMWON Gaming. You know, we heard the stories last year, before they made LCK, of how well DAMWON and Griffin were doing in scrims against Fnatic and IG and all those teams at the top. And, you know, you wanted to pay respect to it, but it's scrims. It means something it doesn't. And we saw all of DAMWON's understandable, oh, the macro falls apart. Okay, the young players don't have a shot caller. But you still wanted to think about where it could go. And I think Game 3 is a preview of what could happen when you have these players who at times have been all as a squad, top 10 in solo queue. It's tantalizing. Just as Nuguri is a player, showmaker on the Corki, it wasn't just the Nuguri show today. DAMWON Gaming, I don't think this year is where they will get everyone on the same page, the level that's possible, but they could still make Worlds. They could still make deep runs into playoffs and Worlds qualification, and then with another year of seasoning, oh man, what could we have on our hands?
It's nice to see that, especially in 2019 with all of the up-and-coming teams, the new bloods, and a bunch of teams now coming up from challengers, and we get to see the two of them fight it out here in the wild card. And it was a very entertaining best of 3. I was kind of expecting a 2-0, maybe to SANDBOX, maybe to whoever took the first game, but players showed up today, especially Nuguri and Showmaker. You really got to hand it to them for putting in the work when it matters most.
It's going to be so interesting when we get Kingzone versus DAMWON, because Rascal, because super up-and-comers increasing their performance, Rascal will need to be steady against Nuguri. Probably the hardest 1v1 opponent next to someone like Khan that we have in this league. Because you'd probably take over Canyon. I don't think Canyon had to do too much in this series. He was decent without being outstanding. But then we get Pawn versus Showmaker. Like, what's that going to be? Which side of the coin are we going to see on those players? Kingzone's bot lane comes in heavily favored. Can Kingzone outdo DAMWON with the nameplates on? Or can DAMWON outdo Kingzone with the nameplates done in the top lanes? Is it going to be bot versus top? Is someone going to step up? Already, we have questions, and only a best of 5 can answer them.
It's a mouth-watering one, and of course, Not one to miss that, guys. Again, Friday, 5 p.m. KST, same time, same place. Just taking a look at some of the highlights towards the end. This was their last-ditch effort, but once again, Meryl's top bench. He made a couple of mistakes here towards the end, but in general, was very solid when they needed him to protect the carries that were so far-fed, even when they get caught in the worst position. And, well, that's the story of a Corki who gets miles ahead.
As we said already, we'll make the reference again. This Corki got a lot of walkies done, and you know, Dove just couldn't make their own play that worked in game number 1, and then you're just free hitting on a champion. You outrange your wave clear post level 11, starts to approximate what Alessandra has, and then you just pile on the damage. They actually messed up a lot of that play around Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench moved out of Devour range, and Nuclear almost died straight up. Unfortunately for SANDBOX, next to him, there was a super fed Corgi. And this Corgi means 2 playoff MVPs. The race's showmakers so far, he's got the double MVP in series number 1.
Yeah, and honestly, can't argue with that, right? He was doing the big boy carrying and dominating the lane a couple of times in a row. Keep in mind that SANDBOX opted into this one, did not ban the Corki, took the Lissandra that has been slowly falling in priority. And Showmaker took advantage of it twice in a row. Do some big damage, and you can see once the Corki gets fed, especially with the Tahm Kench and the Valkyrie, you're never touching this guy.
958 DPM for a champion whose DPM is usually back-ended because of all the AoE and team fights and just how the damage just multiplicatively scales. Yeah. With the fact that you can't mitigate those magic damage crits. So that's just a Corki that overperformed, and when DAMWON start overperforming, you start
다몬이 샌드박스를
So guys,
상대로
we will have an
2대1로
interview
승리를
now. I'm going to hand it
거두면서
to G-Sun
플레이오프
for
1라운드에
translation.
진출하게 됐습니다. 단독 MVP 쇼메이커 선수 모실게요. 안녕하세요.
Translation, and we're going to be hearing from Showmaker, the solo MVP
단독
of
MVP
the
처음으로
Wild
알고
Series.
있는데 이렇게 와일드카드에서 단독 MVP
I heard this is your first
가져가셨어요.
solo
소감이
MVP
남다를 것
interview.
같아요.
How do you feel?
들어볼게요.
오늘 솔직히 하기
Today,
전에
before games,
저희가 롤챔스에서 샌드박스도 한 번도 못
I mean, we
이겨가지고
never took down SANDBOX
긴장
with
좀 하고
LCK, so we
했는데
were really nervous.
잘 어떻게 한 것
But
같아요.
I think we were able to like
말씀하셨듯이
convert
샌드박스가
it into
전적이
the play and
요즘에
we did
상대적으로
well.
좋다 보니까 더 부담도 되고 또
I know the
그만큼
match history
동기부여도
could
됐을
have
것 같아요.
added more pressure on you
어떤
guys, right? How did you prepare for
준비할 때
today's
약간
series?
이를 악물고 얘네한테 지면 안 된다.
We're really working hard. We should
너무
never
많이 져가지고
just
꼭
get defeated
이겨보겠다.
by them.
이겨보자고.
Not again, so we
네,
really wanted
오늘
to win.
2대1로 승리 가져갔습니다. 2대0으로 확실하게 이기고
It
싶었을
could have been
텐데
2-0, but
경기가
ended
좀
up in 2-1
길어졌어요.
victory.
집중력은
The
어떻게
game got extended a
유지하셨나요?
little bit, so how did you stay
세트를
focused?
저희가 거의 다 이긴 게임이었는데
But game
져가지고
2, I think we almost
세트
won
끝나고
it,
좀
so we
지쳤었는데 그때
lost it. We were so sad that we were a bit
김정수
exhausted,
코치님이
but our coach Jung-soo
초코바를
Kim
한입 물면 괜찮아진다고.
just take a bite of a
초코바를
chocolate
한입
bar,
물고 힘내서 이긴 것
so
같아요.
we're able to get back with energy after than a bite of a
좋았죠.
chocolate bar.
네, 알겠습니다. 자, 1세트, 3세트 모두 리산드라 코르키 구도가 나왔습니다.
So game 1 and 3 were all Lissandra versus Corki.
그냥 나쁘지
What are your
않은
thoughts
것
about the matchup? I mean, I think it's not bad. Lissandra is a very mainstream champion, so I think it's a really good champion against Lissandra.
라인저 할 때 그냥
And the most important thing during the
코르키는
lane
헬포를
phase,
못 들어가지고
well, you cannot go with
리산만
TP with
픽하고는
Corki.
집 타임을 잘 넘기는 게 좋아요.
So the first base timing is the most important when Lissandra only can go back to base and TP back in.
장면이 있었어요.
네.
그때 상황이 어땠나요?
그때
There was this
리산드라가
team fight over here with the
제가
highlights.
그때 그 택배 받는 타이밍이어가지고
So this is the timing for my package.
네, 건부가 아래쪽에 있길래 이거 택배 받아서 뭉치자.
And so Rek'Sai told me that just get your package and let's try Dragon.
네, 이 이후에 와 3대지 2바람
After that, you guys picked up 3 Mountain Dragon, 2 Wind
먹었을
Drakes.
때 아 이거 우리가 용 다 가져와 보자 이런
Did
얘기도
you
있었나요?
plan to like pick up all the dragons as soon as you got 2 Dragon Drake, Mountain Drakes?
없는 것 같은데 오늘 의외로 정글이 오브젝트에 신경을 많이
Well,
써요.
I mean,
원래 신경을 안
Damwon
쓰는데
doesn't really play like this, but today he was taking a lot of care of the objectives. I like that.
장막까지 독식을 했습니다. 쇼메이커 선수의 코르키가 사실
Yeah,
이번
Corki.
스프링에서 6패하고 있던 코르키에게 첫 승을 안겨주셨어요.
Was the one that gave the
네,
first
처음
victory to
아시죠?
Corki in LCK. It was actually on the 6
네.
consecutive losses.
쇼메이커 선수가 정말 잘 다룬다고 생각을
I think
하는데
you're the good
쇼메이커 선수의
pilot.
코르키는 어떤 점이 좀
So what are your thoughts on
특별할까요?
Corki right now?
코르키는
What's
코르키도
special
근데
about it?
뭐 쉬운 챔프라서
Corki is an
그런 거
easy
없어요.
champion, nothing special.
파밍만 잘하면
Just farm well.
야, 저번에도
It's
CS
easy.
정말 잘 먹는 게 중요하다고 말씀을 해주셨던
Just like
기억이
you said
있는데
last time, just farm well.
오늘도 미드
They
스타일을
same
허전하게
goes to Corky,
걸렸습니다.
right?
그리고 3세트에서는
Game 3.
리산을 훨씬 더 압박을
You
잘하신
were
모습이었어요.
giving so much pressure to Lissandra. You had such an early Triforce. So what was different between game 1 and 2? I was able to pick up double kills in top lane, so I mean I was scaled enough so early.
와, 3세트 뱀픽 하실 때 또
During
리산
the
코르키 되는 거 보면서
pick and ban. What came through your mind as soon as you saw Lissandra versus Corky?
그건 아니고 그냥 좀
Like I didn't think that I'm gonna win, but it's like if we go to late games, I knew that we're gonna win because we had better late game competition.
있었습니다. 중반쯤에 라이즈와 함께
And we have
바텀에서
another
싸워버리는
highlight.
장면이 있었어요.
That
그때는 상황이 어땠나요?
You and Rise even
그때
joined
저희가
team fight and
약간
taking
그
down all
압박당하고
the
자르반이
SANDBOX
키를
players.
그때 학원이 형 이제 디테일 본다고.
Well, actually, we were feeling a bit pressure, but Noguri just told me I'm gonna keep it in, so just wipe them out. So
아니 오늘 너구
that's what
선수가
we did.
저격밴을 너무 많이 당해서
But Noguri got so much target ban today. Did he feel any pressure or did he feel sad about it? He didn't actually mention about that, but I mean, Noguri actually has an infinite, like unlimited champion pool, so we were not that worried. What are your thoughts about Rise in top lane? About Corky and Rise? I mean, there is a big different synergy. It's not a special composition. But when it goes to you and Noguri, there is a synergy, right? True.
너구리 선수도 같이 뵀으면 더 좋았을 것 같다는 생각이 듭니다.
I wish I could have
정말
had
멋진
Noguri up here as well.
쇼메이커 선수의 활약상 봤습니다. 이제 킹존을 만나러
So you guys are stepping up to face up against Kingzone, but
하지만 샌드박스
looks so flawless in round 2. However, a lot of people were expecting SANDBOX to kind of in the lead on today, but you guys turned that around. So what are you expecting from your upcoming series?
엄청 좋을 것 같고요. 네, 킹존도
It would be
저희가 한
really
번도
nice if
못
we can take them down.
이겨가지고
Because we also never took any sets from Kingzone Dragon X,
이번에도
so
약간 이겨볼 만할 것
maybe
같아요.
this time it can be winnable for
게이밍이
us.
정규 스플릿에서 못 이긴 팀들을 또 다 잡는 그림이
Maybe
나와도
DAMWON Gaming has the
네,
potential
더
to
멋진
take down all the
그런
teams in the
장면들이
playoff,
많이 나올
not
거라고
in the
생각을
regular
합니다.
split. So we'll be looking forward to
다시
it.
한번 단독 MVP 너무너무
Once again,
축하드리고요.
congratulations on your solo
오늘 응원하신
MVP.
팬분들에게도 한 말씀
And there are a lot of
부탁드릴게요.
fans out here sending message for
저번에도
them.
와 있던 것 같은데
Just like I said before,
생긴 지 승격한 지 얼마 안
it
되지도
hasn't been a while since
팬분들
we
많이
made it to
와주셔서
LCK, but thank you for
다음
coming out to
플레이오프
support
때도
us.
꼭
So
이겨서 더 올라가겠습니다.
I hope to
네,
make sure
여러분 큰
to
박수
keep going to
부탁드립니다.
another
아마
round of
쇼메이커
playoffs.
선수의
Thank
활약
you.
때문에 팬분들이 더 많이 생기고 있지 않나 그렇게 생각을 해봅니다. 오늘 승리 다시 한번 축하드립니다. 인터뷰
Congratulations on your
감사합니다.
victory and thank you very much for this interview, Showmaker.
네, 플레이오프 1라운드에
This will
진출하는
be the
담원
end of the
게이밍의
interview with
쇼메이커
Showmaker
선수와
from
함께했습니다.
DAMWON Gaming.
중계선
I'm going to
연결할게요.
pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-sun, as always, for the wonderful translation there as Showmaker. 2 MVPs in a row up on stage all by himself. I feel like he handled it very well. And said that Corky's pretty easy, but when he plays it, he takes it to the next level.
The matchup is definitely a kind one to Corky, but winning the game with Corky is something that, as Mina touched on, avoided 6 teams in a row that were largely picking it in that exact matchup. So, credit to DAMWON for getting things together. What a great best of 3.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those ones where the format, if it was a best of 5, it would be one that was going to be building towards something great. But even just as a standalone best of 3, we got to see that DAMWON just about edged out SANDBOX. They'll finish 5th in their first split, which is still a great result for them. We're going to get to look at that schedule. You guys already know the most important fact. It will be Kingzone versus DAMWON in the first best of 5 on Friday. Hopefully you can live up to this, because like they mentioned also, it has been a very Kingzone favorite matchup in history.
It definitely has been, not even a set taken away from Kingzone by DAMWON. So, as Vito was saying, you know, the story of DAMWON taking out all these teams that they struggled against. And it definitely is, because we've talked a lot about how SKT and Griffin are kind of on a different level. For a while, it was only Griffin, but then SKT began to prove it, and then Kingzone also slowly but surely began to prove it themselves and make it up to that top tier 1 in the LCK. But now it's up to DAMWON to try to break in on Friday.
So no games tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday, then Sunday. Usual time of 5 p.m. The playoffs continue.
Playoffs continue here for LCK Spring 2019. You guys do not want to miss it. It's going to be a fantastic best of 5. So we'll see you guys then for that one. Any final words, Papa?
I'm just excited. I'm rubbing the hands. Let's get more games in this LCK playoffs.
So we'll see you guys there on Friday for when we do get Nuggery and the boys and Showmaker up against Def and the rest of his team. We'll see you then.
You take me higher when I feel low. Make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, oh, with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning. Together we'll be winning. With you I'm a savage.
Bye-bye!